Hey, what's up, brother? Habibi Fahodie. Habibi Fahodie? What's that? It's African liberation, brother. Oh, you got that knowledge, brother? Knowledge, brother? Do you want the knowledge? Every brother looking for some knowledge. Look, if you're looking for the knowledge, let me tell you what the knowledge is. Just go to www.waronthehorizon.com. Click on the store link. They have DVDs on religion, black freedom fighters, the homosexual war against the black race, black male-female relationships, the dangers of interracial mixing with whites, sexual abuse in the black community. Then they have the DVD lecture series on racism, white supremacy, the history of white-on-black genocide, and the powerful impact of the entertainment industry on the black race. That sounds serious. It's definitely serious, brother. I hear what you're saying, brother. Look, sometimes I don't have a week to wait for something to come in the mail. You know what I'm saying? Not a problem at all, brother. All the DVDs are available for electronic download, which you can get same-day delivery for $15 each. Hey, man, I know it's only $15 and everything. But the economy kind of rough. You know, brother's pockets kind of tight, too. Look, brother, that's not a problem at all. For $1 to $2 a piece, you can order any radio program available on the site. Man, so look, y'all got any sisters down with this thing? War on the Horizon? Sisters? Of course. War on the Horizon also features Children of Southampton products. They have the 2009 and 2010 Nat Turner Day weekend celebration. 1831 Turner Street featuring them Memphis boys, Brothers Keeper. Okay. Have you ever heard Sister Nefertari lecture? Nah, I haven't. You gotta check out that 500 Years of Dark Skin First Light Skin. Look, man, this stuff sounds kind of serious. They got to hate on it. Yes. Huh? You hate being depressed, don't you? Brothers and sisters, we'll see you on the battlefield. War on the Horizon. This content may not be suitable for viewers and English language. The devil ain't got horns, he got buttermilk skin. It's time to make this cracker face up in a sea of sin. Let's stand on for the color of our skin. Back like that, let's begin like this.
Hey, brother, did you try that new restaurant down the street?
Yeah, I went there yesterday. The food was off the chain. And the chicken was like, how they be saying it? Like, to die for. Whoa.
To die for?
To die for, brother? I'm saying, I mean, the chicken was good. You know what I'm saying?
Can't you just say the chicken was good? Does it have to be to die for? That sounds a little...
Did you wear skinny jeans while you were eating the chicken?
Nah, I'm saying, I say it was good, man.
Was it rainbow chicken? Hold up, man. I just
with a sparkly buckle on it.
Was the server doing a sissy bounce? Man, I'm just saying, the chicken was good. Look, man, the chicken was good, no homo.
No, it's time is past for no homo.
You're supposed to say it before, bro.
I can say
I just said no homo, though. There's no regulation on when you can say no homo. What are y'all, like the regulatory governing body over no homo or something?
Brothers and sisters, don't get caught up. Don't let the homosexual culture back to you. We are the final sign in the earth and the white faith. Stand strong. This is the service of most national
War on the Horizon. You gotta love it. Number one. Man, oh, here we go again, man. Two gay dudes kissing on the bus. That's what I'm talking about. Why you gotta be, man, they trying to turn everybody gay. You know what I'm saying, bro? Brother, I really don't know what you're talking about. I'm saying, you see the bus, you see how they got the two dudes kissing on the joint. It's like commercials. Everywhere you go, everything gay. Youngers walking around with these little, the faggy fit jeans and everything. You know what I'm saying? Well, brother, do you have hate in your heart? What? Yeah, that's not the Christianly thing to do. We should love our neighbors. Man, I ain't loving no gay neighbors, Joe. It ain't say you gotta love your gay neighbors. It don't say love your neighbors. It don't say... I ain't talking about neighbors. I'm talking about faggies. So you saying you love faggies? What I'm saying is, love is the most powerful force in the universe. And Jesus came to show us how we should love our brothers. Man, you sounding real gay right now, talking about loving some brothers. Hold on, Joe. Look, if you want to tell me something, just let me know. I might be preaching to the choir, man. I'm saying, the faggies, talking about loving. You know what, man? Get this, man. I'm going to walk. Peace. Brothers and sisters, sometimes your arms is not long enough to box the spooky in the sky. Spend your time where it's most useful. This is the African service announcement. War on the Horizon. We'll see you on the battlefield. War on the Horizon. You gotta love it. Check 1 2 1 2. Let's get some volumes in here. Check 1 2 1 2 1 2. My yacht for the great disaster. Don't get confused about my way of life. It's not gangster, it's militant, ill intent. I mastermind and leave a federal building bent, build a tent, and live in the wilderness. Shop in a tree branch, in a river spirit, fish, I'm fearless. Every now and then you might find a video of me through my media. It's wartime. So, the irritated genie. Outlaws in the house.
Feminization of a black girl.
Yeah. It's a war of the horizon.
Feminization of a black girl.
Let's go off. They say loose. Defended as an eagle and kidnapped this young boy named Anthony. Forced this young boy to be a sub. How sick is that? The Greek God knows his name was a birthday kid. They had many faces before many hands. All of sexuality accepted by black. But when I backtrack, I see no history. European trickery. Burning all this white sex tax. You disagree the versions on you to prove it existed. In Africa, amongst the original Egyptians. Show me bestiality and kin. Show me fearism. Sexuality was represented. The image been printed. You can't test it, ain't coming for us. Fighting is down the power gorilla. In a song, singing home. For white is down the power gorilla. In a song, singing home. For white is down the power gorilla. In a song, singing home. For white is down the power gorilla. In a song, singing home. Julius Caesar was every man's wife and every woman's husband. Columbus raped Indian boys by the dozen. The Middle Passage, blacks yelling and suffering across the Atlantic. Chains down the pain, somehow they survive. Although they feminized by the white bandits. Death and disease left some stay stranded. Floating in the ocean with bodies were examined. By the shop, and in the shop they would follow. Waiting for a taste of the human cosmos. Those shops didn't swallow or put on sex bombs. Ain't it? Of course they use white sex norms. Incest, sex, but because they need your sisters. How the people get all that they done to you.
That statement, Jason Collins became the first active male professional athlete in the 4 major American sports leagues to come out. Collins made the revelation in a first-person account posted on Sports Illustrated's website Monday, adding, "If I had my way, someone else would have already done this. Nobody has, which is why I'm raising my hand."
Well, it's a really tremendous day, both for professional sports and for our country. I think, Jason Collins has immediately made himself a role model to young lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender people around the country who now see an openly gay athlete at the highest level.
In a statement, NBA Commissioner David Stern says, "We are proud he's assumed the leadership mantle on this very important issue." Former President Bill Clinton, whose daughter Chelsea is a friend of Collins from their time at Stanford together, also released a statement, saying in part, "I hope that everyone, particularly Jason's colleagues in the NBA, the media, and his many fans, extend to him their support and the respect he has earned." Collins has played for 6 NBA teams in 12 seasons, finishing this past season with the Washington Wizards. Now a free agent, he says he wants to continue playing. Noel Waghorn, The Associated Press.
The North American Man Boy Love Association. Team double gauge and corporate ranks. They all stick one in the same. They think it's okay to screw boys that won't pay. They gone insane. Jump shot, dribble, bounce fast. It's all the same game. Blow the whistle. They foul fast, more than a little. And why we practice it, their sex ritual. Some say I'm feeling hate. I say they use African babies as alligator bait. Let me navigate up to 2008, 2009, 2010. They saw black kids of homosexual men, and that goes too, man, we gotta step in.
My ancestors woke me up this morning. They said, "Son, you do know what time it is, don't you?" I said, "What time is that?" They said, "It's wartime." So welcome to the war front, brothers and sisters. Oh, man, we got a special program for you tonight. You just heard us playing that. It's Jason Collins, black-skinned male professional basketball player, comes out today and lets the world know that he's been swarmed in and souped in by the militant white sex assault, that he has given away his African birthright to live and breathe and participate in this world as an African, so that he can be a sexual degenerate and deviant. And so we really, really, really got to do something. That's what we're going to talk about tonight. We're going to talk about the white sex assault on African people, from America to South Africa to Atlanta to D.C. to Brazil to everywhere we find this. And we're going to talk tonight about what we can do. We've got to start a movement. It's no longer, we can't wait till we're comfortable. We had a movement in the 20s. We had a movement in the 50s, movement in the 70s. And by God, as African people, we got to have a movement, an anti-white sex movement. They're going to take some lives on this one, and we got to take some too. This is a real crisis, and we can no longer sit and wait. All those who say we're warriors for our race, the time is here now, and it's our time for us to start doing something about it. And in that regard, we couldn't do this kind of program by ourselves. So, of course, tonight you have the honor and privilege to be on the station live with the premier scholar of the 21st century thus far. I don't know what an African can do to outdo the brother that we about to bring on you, but this brother writes books like birds fly from tree to tree. You know, it's nothing. And each one of these books is a quality book. As a matter of fact, I don't want to get off subject, but he's got a brand new book called Message to the Warriors. I'm about 3/4 way through, and I really don't even call it that now. I'm reading this book, and I'm so blown away. It's literally the handbook for black nationalists. It's a black nationalist handbook. It's a guide to anytime somebody asks me, what do I do? I'm just learning this information. How do I go further? What do I have to do? Instead of me giving these long explanations or whatever the case may be, I'm just going to say, this is the book that you need. It'll give you your guide. So, brothers and sisters, matter of fact, we're going to probably do a program on that very, very soon. If the brother's available, the next time he's available, we're going to do that because it's an outstanding book. And I just want to finish it before we bring it on here. But brother's written Kabuka. Brother's written Homosexuality and the Effeminization of African Males, Sex Imperative, Urugu's Eunuchs, and many, many, many more books. I think he's almost up to 20 books now. So without any further ado, brothers and sisters, I'm going to bring you on our brother here. He has a program, he and his wife, a Bibi Fahodie program every Friday night. For those that don't know, a Bibi Fahodie means Black Liberation in Cree, which is a Ghanaian language, if I'm not mistaken. And the Baba's going to come on in a minute so he can correct anything that I say that's not correct. And I just want to go ahead and give you now, you might as well call in now because we're going to go to our phone lines around 8 o'clock. I'm going to tell you now, the phone line's going to be lit up tonight. When this brother comes on the radio and comes on this program, it's always hot and off the charts. Phone number 760-569-7676. Again, that's 760-569-7676. Participation code 948-656#. That's 948-656#. Without any further ado, brothers and sisters, we would like to welcome to our program Baba Mwalimu Baruti. Are you there with us, Baba?
I'm here, Brother Tater Genie. I'm glad to be here. This is definitely an important topic in our lives. This is an important topic in our children's lives. Because technically, you could argue we're safe. We know. But the children are the point of attack. And we have to have this discussion so that at least we can say that what needed to be said was said. And that we're doing everything that we could possibly do to stop this assault against our children. I don't think that I can say that enough, because people want to play like this is some kind of a political game, that we're all the same and it doesn't make a difference what you do, the individual way rules. And I know I'm starting before I should start, but you got me started with the introduction with the guy who was speaking out of Christianity and trying to correct this brother in terms of him trying to correct the fags that were on the bus. And we have to bear in mind that religion is a political weapon, as John Henrik Clarke taught us. It's a political weapon in the hands of our enemies, Christianity is the political weapon of Europeans. Islam is a political weapon of Arabs. So we have to be very careful. And when that political weapon serves their purpose, then it pursues their interests. So what they are comes to be something that we defend, even when what they are is about the business of killing us from the inside out. So I'm glad to be here. Always glad to be here. You know, I appreciate you. I appreciate your work. You've been a major point of conversation in our lives and in our home for years, many years, and it's often those people who most people don't hear, whose voices most people don't recognize, who are doing the most work, because usually those whose voices are the most obvious are those who are the most compromised. So you are definitely appreciated in our home in terms of the work that you do and what we need to have done.
Well, brother, we definitely appreciate that. You know, it's always an honor to have you on. You know, when you accepted that you would come on and actually have a program on our station, we were just honored, because we knew that, and this is something that I really want to say for people to understand something. It's something that I talked to our brother DJ, you know. A lot of people don't know brother DJ, but brother DJ is a brother with tremendous depth in terms of understanding sometimes. And sometimes he just blows me away with things. But one of the things he was saying is that in the modern context, particularly as it relates to exactly what we're talking about here now, this white sex thing, but just in general, there are not a lot of black brothers and sisters that we can call elders. They may be older and they may be good people, but in the best case scenario, many of our older brothers and sisters don't understand how dangerous and how absolutely life-threatening this white sex assault on our people is. And so even though they mean well and they see themselves as Pan-Africanists, in the modern context, they can't help us and won't help us with this because they don't see it as a real problem. Could you talk to why this homosexuality and homosexualization of African people and pedophilic white sexing of black people, why it's so important and what it's going to do if we don't do something about it?
Yeah, absolutely. But before I do, you brought up an extremely important point, and it's a very fine line between, of course, an elder and an older. That really hit the nail on the head, and as I said, Brother DJ, he's got a way of he's got this incisive way of attacking, speaking to a problem, making it plain. That's one of the reasons why I can really appreciate his mind, because he's clear. There isn't fuzz there. He's clear. The problem when we start talking about elders is that how do I say this? Eni and I used to get into debates about whether folks who promoted ideas that were against African people had always been that way, or if this is the way that they became because of some income or some other thing. And I was always of the opinion that they had always been this way, that this was something that was hidden or was maybe even concealed from themselves slightly, because it wasn't in their best interest to speak in this way. So I've seen so many people who are supposed to be elders, whose names everybody knows and who have all of this name recognition out here, who are siding with this homo assault against African people, who are siding with things like Obama, who are siding with things that work against African people, systematically work against African people. And I think that we might need to somehow, like we reconceptualize, in my mind, the center from just the conscious community. We need to maybe, I don't know, I like that word elder. I really do, but it's getting to be a catch-all for individuals who are just old, who wear the attire and have read the material and maybe started a rights program and maybe did a drama workshop or taught a drumming class for 30, 40, 50 years, but their politics are not about the business of an African identity and not about the business of making African people sovereign. Where sovereignty means getting us as far away from the European way as possible. And homosexuality, to me, to come to the other point, homosexuality to me is the heart, well, not homosexuality, pedophilia, of which technically, I mean, people put people put pedophilia within homosexuality, or if you will, pedophilia is a subcategory of homosexuality. And I don't. I put pedophilia at the top because that's the original way. Maybe not back in the caves. Maybe it was straight up homosexuality back in the caves. But the European mind, that spirit, is always seeking out to violate the most vulnerable, the weakest. And in the caves, the weakest was the children. Now, of course, we aren't there and we couldn't see, but we can speculate just like they can speculate. They can theorize. We can theorize too. So if we're speculating and because we understand that power over other natural tendency of the European mind, then we can say even though homosexuality existed in the case, pedophilia was at the heart of it. Pedophilia was a center. And when we're talking about contrasting that with what it means to be African, we are a family-centered people. We are a child-centered people. And such a mind cannot stomach the possibility of the idea of pedophilia because that's an assault on the children. That's an assault on the family structure. That goes against the world's oldest taboo, and the oldest taboo in the world is incest. So we're talking about something that is completely and totally, that is diametrically opposed to the African way, that is being pushed on us, and because so many of us have forgotten who we are and don't want to know who we are, would we be willing to kill somebody who tried to teach them or to take them to who we are? They are able to roll on us with this, and most of us with open arms. Many of us don't see where this is taking us. Most of us are so afraid to do anything or to look in any direction which may make us turn against the European, because we know in the back of our minds that the European will not tolerate any indifference, anything that disagrees with him. We know that subconsciously. We know that in the back of our mind, that anybody who comes to them with something that Europeans are promoting and says that it's not African, of course, also at the same time, in complete and total denial of being African, in complete and total denial of being our ancestors, which is part and parcel of that. I don't want to do anything that will upset the Europeans, since they've already told me that Africans are just boning the nose, booty scratching, climbing up the tree, whatever kind of things they've displayed us as. This initiative, this move to turn us into them is being embraced fully. It's being embraced because of the fear and of the blinders that we have put on, because we don't want to do anything that would lose us friends. We don't want to do anything that would turn us against America, and we have misdefined America as being all of ours and not a part of the European nation, part of the European mind. So what we have done essentially in so many ways leading up to this is like the apex of it. Pedophilia is the apex of it, of us going through the trauma of the caves of the Europeans' mind to become them. We've gone through their caves, or we're coming out of their caves, having traveled through those caves. So the idea of us becoming homosexual and pedophiles is not unusual, because we want to be so much like them. We want so much to be them. We want so much to become them.
Let me jump in here and ask a question. You're hitting nails on the head. I know people want to know. Okay, so the question, the quid pro quo is, if we assume for a minute that you and I didn't exist and no other brothers and sisters who are going to fight this exist, right, and our people continue with this fast speed march in the direction of homosexuality and pedophilia in the African world community, in the next 100 years, what would the impact on our people? Where is this going to lead to? What's the end result?
Oh, I wouldn't give it 100 years. I'd give it 40, maybe 50, because that's 2 generations. You know, technically a generation is 20 years when you have the birth of the next one. And it's being moved so fast within the generation that exists right now, that's in kindergarten and pre-K and in nursery school and in the first, second, and third grade. It's moving so fast on them that you don't find 99% of them, if you will, who have any idea that this is an African. So, okay, I just jumped away from a flying insect. Sorry about that.
No problem. That's a flying homo bug that doesn't want you to tell.
He's not flying anymore. I have very serious doubts that it would take that long. What I have seen at 57 years of age, or should I say what we have seen? Because I better say what I have seen, because any guy's always saying that I robbed the cradle, even though I only have 6 years on her. What I have seen in my 57 years. Well, let me take this back a second. In grad school, I looked at the level of violence that occurs in our community, and one of the things that I discovered, if you will, is that what has happened since the 70s, in terms of the gradual increase in violence in the community, should have taken another 70, 80 years to occur. So it's begun to shoot up. That's what has happened with the homosexualization of African people. It's no longer a gradual increase. These folks think that they have won, and they're acting accordingly. And because they're acting this aggressively and they are so well politically organized, that it's not going to take, 100 years. I'd seriously doubt if it's going to take 50 years.
So let me go back to the question. Let's change it, and let's say,
okay,
if this continues to go the direction it is,
okay,
in 40 years. Now, again, we're assuming that we're not here to fight this. So let's assume that it's just going to go this direction, full speed ahead.
Okay.
What is that going to mean? What is the impact going to be on African people?
We're not going to know we're African. If I was only allowed to say one sentence in response to that, it would be, we're not going to know that we're African anymore, because the last vestige, if you will, of being African. They've already invaded our spiritual systems, many with the assistance of Negroes and lost souls. So those are no longer our domain, and they were out after that in the first place. As Jerry Clark said, they took us to Christianity, which is something that they didn't believe in, and now they're taking over our spiritual systems while we're still heading toward Christianity. So they've taken over that. They've recreated themselves in our family forms. Our divorce rates are much higher than theirs. Family breakup. Children without fathers, foster care. L.A. County alone, there are over 250,000 children in foster care. Foster care does nothing but it nurtures sexual violence. It nurtures white sex. It nurtures homosexuality, pedophilia. It nurtures these things. They've already taken over our politics. Who in the political spectrum that I'm not aware of anyone in the political spectrum who is making any statements against homosexuality, the homosexualization of African people. I don't know anybody in the religious section who is making any significant statements about the homosexualization of African people, somebody who is of worth and is of good character. So in all of the institutions that we have, we don't have a military, so we don't have to deal with that. We're already incorporated into that. So what identifies us as African, we're fighting with all our might to get away from. In that 40-year period, if push come to shove, if quote-unquote African Americans had their way, then the African would come off the American. The only reason that many of them are hanging on to it now is because they don't have a choice. They still recognize that they're not completely loved by Europeans, so they have to have something to hold on to, so let's say African American.
So let me jump in here, because I want to ask this question then.
Keep directing.
Okay, so when you say that we won't know that we're Africans, give me a practical example. A person walks out the door today, and even though we may not all know that we're Africans, there's some knowledge as a race of people among some of us and enough of us that we can say that we're Africans, so that we can say African American, for instance. Give me what it would be like in 40 years, considering things go full speed ahead, no one does anything to stop this, we go completely in a direction. a black person walks out of the door in a home, and what is the world like for black people?
I don't see any reason why we would associate ourselves with being African in any way. That's the last thing that we want to do. So when this individual walks out of his home or her home, they're just going to see in their mind a bunch of individuals, a bunch of Americans, if you will. They're not going to, the Europeans will, but we're not going to in any way, shape, form, or fashion try to identify ourselves as distinct or separate from them. Our skin color, and hopefully by then no one has come up with a formula as in this one book I read, which was able to turn us a white. If no one's come up with a formula and we just happen to look different, then we're going to be in the absolute state of denial that has any significance. This guy might just have gotten out of bed with his daughter and gotten on the bus, and on the bus had a sexual relationship with a, if you want to call it sex, relationship with a male. I mean, there's no, after he poured his libation, because Europeans are incorporating some of the things that come out of our traditional systems because they're cute. So that there will be nothing about this individual, and maybe we can say 50 years, maybe we can say 60 years, because that's the question is getting a little more complicated in my head now. That individual would not see anything about himself that in any way, shape, form, or fashion connected him with Africa, except maybe on the news where he had to celebrate the West's further military invasion of the continent.
So let me see if I'm catching the weight of what you're saying. It's almost like you see some of those, some of the black people. I'm not talking about the dark Indians who are really Indians from India, but some of the black people in India or some of the black people who live in Arabia or even in Africa who have no idea whatsoever that they're African, but completely see themselves as Muslim or Arab, and will fight and kill you if you even mention anything about that. And so in the context of the way they live their life, the idea that you and I exist and we could be their brothers is completely, totally the furthest thing from the construct of their mind.
Absolutely. And so many of us are already there or wishing we were there. So very many of us. I don't expect by that time HBCUs to be HBCUs. They're already on the downfall. These schools are already recruiting the other people. And in those instances where there's a strong black male presence, then the strength is being negated with all possible strength. So there's no, those things that identify us as African people, we will have done everything in our power to remove them. William Jewis Wilson wrote a book called The Declining Significance of Race back in the 70s or what have you, and it was based, one of the things that came out of that was an understanding that the Negro didn't want anything that identified black people as black people, except that moved him further into the bed of the European. So by that time, I mean, we're talking about 2 generations, maybe give it 3, I don't know. But within that time, unless there is a major economic crisis, unless this bottoms out, which, in a very real way, I hope it does, unless it bottoms out, unless there is some, or even then, I can't imagine a situation where black folks would be so upset about what happened to or some black folks that they would call into question white people as a nation. So I don't see anything but us in terms of those who don't know and don't want to know, not just don't know, but don't want to know in any way, shape, form, or fashion, changing the course of the direction that they're going politically. There's nothing there to make them stop, and there's everything there to keep them going. Fear, ignorance, white folks who, quote-unquote, love them. There's nothing whatsoever to make them stop and think that the direction that they're moving, they're running away from who they are, is wrong. They're told in every possible way that it's right, that it's correct.
Okay. So
when you moved us out of the equation, if you move us out of the equation, then that little anchor, that little piece of a root that's still holding us to our ancestors that we represent, then that'll be severed, and there's nothing to keep the ship just from floating wherever.
So would it be reasonable in a nutshell to say that thing that we call culture, which is what a people do and how they identify themselves, see themselves, the complete and absolute cultural destruction of African people will occur, so that even if they're physical African beings walking the planet, we will not identify with one another, so there'll be no collectiveness, black men and women married and having respect. And
absolutely.
It will just, as a race, essentially, we will be exterminated culturally.
Absolutely. And once you've done that, then you can freely commit genocide, and no one will pay any attention. No one will notice.
Because it's individuals that are dying now.
Because it's individuals. And no one is going to connect themselves. No one is going to say, well, that's one of me, and if that happens to him, then that's going to happen to me. That's not going to be there, because I'm not him. I'm me. I'm an American. I'm not. He must have done something to make that cop beat him to death. It had nothing to do with the color of the skin. He had to have done something. So we don't. When that happens, when that extreme individualism seriously kicks in, and it's kicking in, it's kicking in. When that seriously kicks in, then it's not going to be a question of any unification. I mean, I look on the street that I live in. The people across the street, they have a white female who's taking care of their child all day long while they're at work. This is a black couple. I look down the street, and the sister on the corner, she's got 2 homes, and in these 2 homes, she doesn't bring anything in but homosexualized Africans and Europeans. These are black folk who are, whether it's consciously or not, it doesn't have to be, who are consciously working to destroy any sense of family and identity. As I said years ago, I continue to say, the main institution that Europeans attacked when they came to the continent, and they continue to attack today, is the family. Of course, they attacked the economy and the spiritual system and all that, but the primary attack was on the family. Because if you can disconnect people from the families, then you can disconnect people from the nation. You can make them into individuals who have no sense of loyalty to their ancestors, to who they are, to their race, to their group. They have no sense of loyalty to anybody except whoever has the power, whoever has set up the system, whoever is defining reality for them. And the European definition of reality for themselves is one of extreme individualism. And for African people, trying to become European is even a greater extreme individualism. We don't want. We're told. One example of this, we're told that we need to go out and meet new people and make relationships with all kinds of new people. That's part of that individualism, like that's something new. But it's like for us, we translated that to mean to go out and meet anybody but black folks. You got if there are so many different cultures on the African continent, and I argue that there's only one, just different ethnic groups. There's so many different cultures on the continent. You could spend forever meeting different kinds of African people and never have to speak to an Arab or European. But for us, because we're so desperately in need of the love and validation of Europeans and anybody but Africans, for us that meant to find anybody except someone who was African. So in that 40-year period, that 50-year period, I expect that to be pretty much the norm. Us looking for to be with, to sleep with, to marry, if you will, anybody who does not in any way, shape, form, or fashion resemble us. The goal will be to produce children who are the most exotic mutations on the planet because of blending of whatever or whatever. So that'll be like the prize. There will be no reason. And the reason I'm saying this, we have to take this logically forward. We're social scientists. Social scientists look at trends, and they try to speculate, try to predict, try to forecast where this is going to go in the future. if you just look at the evolution of the homo gang and the numbers of them that are popping up and the power that they have and the fact that the police and the state are not interfering with them in any way, shape, form, or fashion, and they're everywhere and they're assaulting people everywhere. Look at where that's going to be in 10 years, in 15 years, where the new gang member, the new gang, the biggest, baddest gang, will be a homosexual gang.
That's already happened in D.C., in Washington, D.C.
Yes, and it's all over. It's gonna be all over because they're gonna set the standard. They're gonna set the model. Just like this. I want to say brother, but this guy in I've forgotten his name who just came out of the closet or wherever he was at in the sports world.
Jason Collins.
Yes. So it's and what do you hear in the remarks? And you played that at the beginning with the spokesperson for the LG whatever, speaking praises for this guy because he is a model, which means he's going to be portrayed as a model, just like the guy on the down low. He became a multimillionaire overnight from coming on Oprah. So this guy is a model, just like what's his name? We call him Faggot Ferry, the guy who's got the TV shows and the movies, Medea.
Tyler Perry.
Yeah, so he is a model. Why? Because they have put him there. Because economics rules this society. Capitalism rules this society, and he has all of this money, all of this clout, and he has become the model. I tell the males here on occasion when they want to catch attitude, they're so bad they don't want to have to listen. These are guys who 15, 16, they're starting to smell themselves. And I tell them, okay, you think that you're so bad, you don't need to develop a sense of thinking in this reality where you're going to be dealing with these folks, and you don't have the wherewithal or the drive to create a business, which means you got to go work for them. The way that the world of work is going, it is going to be ruled by Europeans and their Negro lovers. So you're going to have a homosexual labor market. If you don't bend over, you're not going to get the job.
We had, and let me just jump in, Rain. We had a sister that called us from Emporia, Virginia, a few years ago, and said that in that city, that if you were not either interracially dating or pro-homosexual, that you couldn't get a job.
Well, I believe that, and you'll find the same thing. It's going to be happening real soon in England because they're well on their way, and in Canada. So it's not just here. It's all over. Any of y'all came across an article the other day of black males, a number of black males who lied, saying that they were homosexual because they said otherwise they couldn't get jobs.
What?
You have a homosexual
in Canada or U.S.
here in Atlanta.
Can you send that to us? Wow.
I will ask her. Well, I ask her when I get off because I know that she has it. She talked about it like 2 or 3 times.
Wow.
But that's not to me. I want to say that's old. It's just not public. Because the homosexual community, the homosexualized African community, to me, to say European is homosexual, so I'm not even going to deal with them. The homosexualized African community, they are extremely politically organized and extremely well-assisted economically by the European community because they, of course, have an agenda.
And let me jump in here where we're saying that because this is real important.
Yeah.
Okay, let's just change direction just a little bit here. Okay. The homosexualized white sex black skin community is very politically organized. Here's my question. In the modern context, first question, is it possible to be Pan-Africanist or black nationalist and not be openly organized to fight homosexuality? Can you do that in this climate?
No, not now. Not now. That's why that's one of the main, we say no Euros, no Negroes, no homos, no promos. Those are, to me, the measuring gauge of the state of your Africanness if you're claiming to be a revolutionary. Otherwise, you're not a revolutionary.
So
if you're not, and to me, if you're not saying anything to check it, then that's a statement right there, because you're supposed to be, you're supposed to be so bad, you're supposed to be on the front line. Then when somebody asks you, you don't necessarily have to say it loud in public, because that may not be your arena. But the people who are around you, the people who know you, the people who you work with, they should be clear that you're clear.
Can an organization be a Pan-Africanist organization and not have a stated disagreement or platform against homosexuality?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Because either they have the opposite of that and they're pretending to be revolutionary, or they're not revolutionary because they're afraid to say anything about it, because that may make them lose something, which to me makes them promo, because if you're not saying something about a problem that's in your face, you're being neutral on, then you're assisting the assaulting side. So I don't think that there's such a thing. And those organizations who are not saying anything, particularly those who are promo, but they're pretending that they're not, then they're practicing the same thing that I have, not I alone, but have described about homosexuality among homosexualized Africans for a long time. Extreme deceit, lying. Revolutionaries don't lie to their people, especially those revolutionaries that you're talking about. We're grassroots and we are trying to create a nation of people. We're fighting for this and we're fighting for that for African people. You're lying. So you don't lie to your people. That's doing the same thing the Europeans did when they talk about the masses or asses. You mean you're lying to your people, which means that you're full of deceit, that your character is bad, and you have no business calling yourself a revolutionary or standing anywhere near the front of African people.
All right. Now let me go to another question in that same regard. Okay. There was a time, and I know some people have issues with it, but but I'm going to name some men, and I'm going to say there's no question in my mind that each of these men, if they saw this as an issue during their time, would have said something. Marcus Garvey.
Oh, absolutely.
Elijah Muhammad.
Absolutely.
Malcolm X.
Absolutely.
Robert F. Williams.
Absolutely.
If these people were here where we are today, that they would be fighting, but because of the nature of the fight that we're facing, they would be fighting a different fight. They would be fighting this war that we're fighting. Here's my question.
Absolutely.
Minister Farrakhan came out and went public, and it was not someone asked him a question. He went and in an interview, he proactively declared that Tyler Perry, as he described him, was a spiritual giant. How would you classify that statement coming from somebody of Minister Farrakhan's position to have the voice in the ear of our community?
Well, I want to use the word compromise, and I need to explain this. Part of the problem, I think, and have thought for a while, and I've heard other people say this, is that Farrakhan refused to relinquish his power. He refused to relinquish his position to, if you will, younger folks who had more energy and were better able to do this given the changes that have occurred in the time. So the things that he has said, I mean, I began to question this back with the Million Man, I call it gathering, when he was calling for folks to vote. And I'm saying, what kind of alliances, what kind of participation should we have in a system of people who are trying to destroy us? What does the vote have to do with anything? Of course, it goes even further back to that than that for me, because I have issues with Eurocentric capitalism, and capitalism is not the only kind of economy. When the bragging about how much his shoes cost and his clothes and all the rest of that, this I'm talking about going back. So this did not come, even though I was somewhat surprised that he would say that. It didn't come as a surprise in terms of what he would say to, how do I say this? And it's not that I'm trying to make this sound nice. I'm trying to give it the whole picture. That I did not find difficult to accept as having come out of his mouth, given what he's trying to hold on to and who he's trying to please. Okay, so you have the trying to create alliances with Christians, trying to create alliances with Jews. Arabs and Jews are eternal enemies. So why would you try to create alliances with Jews, European or otherwise?
So he's trying to maintain power by being everybody's friend.
Yes, bringing in philosophies that are not unique to Europeans, where you're starting to bring in how we're supposed to analyze ourselves psychologically based on this white man's analysis, which is old as beans. Bringing this into these individuals, and I've seen so much fragmenting within the quote-unquote nation over time that it's not funny, and many of them are completely and totally rejecting, and they were rejecting long before this statement. To me, there's no, and there was an attempt at an apology for that. That was, to me, like the attempt of Erykah Badu, and I don't really care whose feelings I'm hurting here. That was like Erykah Badu apologizing for the video that she made. That video should never have reached the eyes of anybody because of what it symbolized, sperm and blood. So, and in the presence of European males. So this was a statement that he never should have made. This to me, you cannot retract because it should have never come out of your mouth in the first place. You should have never promoted the idea. I don't care what Tyler Perry, or as we say, Faggot Ferry, represented to Negroes or Americans. That's of the magnitude of like silencing Khalid. Okay, it's like the magnitude of that. It's like the magnitude of silencing Malcolm because he said something against some European.
No, let me stop you because I want to ask you this because it goes right along with what we're talking about. Mm-hmm. If Dr. Khalid Abdul Muhammad was here, and of course we know this is a speculative question,
yes,
but what would he do in relation to this onslaught of homosexuality? First of all, well, let me answer differently. One, if he had lived, could they be doing this right now on the magnitude that they are? And two, what would his response be to this?
Absolutely not. You couldn't do that because of the man that Khalid Muhammad was. Khalid Muhammad was such a man in terms of our definition of manhood that anybody who was not a man in his presence was immediately revealed for not being a man. So if you're making statements that glorify or qualify some effeminized, homosexualized male and trying to put them on a pedestal, then it's going to reveal what you're really about even more.
I'm sorry, I misinterpreted the question. I'm saying, could the whites have been effective in pushing this homosexualization on African people if Dr. Khalid was alive, or would they still be doing it? And if they were doing it, what would he be doing?
Not to the degree that they are. I think that they could have continued to do it because many of us did not support the idea of Khalid Muhammad. When Khalid Muhammad came on the scene, so many of us had already lost our manhood. So he was the thing that would have made Khalid Muhammad so effective was his attraction to young folks. So what's going on with young folk would not be going on at the rate that it is because there will be somebody constantly checking it. So, and there isn't a voice or power within the homosexualized African community that would have been able to challenge him. But again, the problem is there were already so many of us, the majority of us are willful slaves. So Khalid's message would have reached, well, I would say that we would have more of these phenomenal warriors that we're now having come on the scene. We would have more of them because there would be this voice that had this national recognition and had an image of quality that represented manhood in such a way that it would have been easy to, if you will, follow him or to walk alongside of him. One of the things that they did was, and that they continue to do, is to systematically remove, either physically or by keeping them off of the airwaves or keeping them out of sight, any model of real African manhood. I want someone to tell me the name of one that's in major media now. And I don't even want to go into the actors because actors are still actors, but even there, show me there. There are some good actors, but I'm talking about in terms of the role of manhood and the roles that they have played that everybody has seen on the silver screen. What are the models of manhood? So this is not accidental, and most folks already know. They just don't necessarily connect it to the homosexual agenda.
And let me ask this last question because we only got 5 minutes before 8:00, and I know people are going to want us to go to our phone lines. But this is what I want your help with because I think as we're talking about what's going on, it's clear that this is an international crisis. They had the first gay Zulu wedding.
Absolutely.
We got an NBA player just today coming out, which means shortly thereafter we're going to have professional football players coming out, and it's going to be so celebrated that it's going to encourage other people to do the same thing. And so that's going to tell our young people that this is something that's desirable and nobody's speaking out against it. My question to you is this. It's clear at this point that what we're doing is wonderful. The ancestors are happy that we're doing something, but now the race is crying out for a movement.
Absolutely.
And if I'm not mistaken, the silent majority of black people on the African continent and in America, even though that majority is becoming slimmer and slimmer as the days grow, but the silent majority of African people are still vehemently against this behavior. They just don't have a voice.
Agreed.
How do we, in a very practical way, how do we start a movement? I'm talking about the same way Robert F. Williams had a movement for armed self-defense, the same way that the Black Panther Party had a movement, the same way that Marcus Garvey had a movement, the same day that Elijah Muhammad and the Nation of Islam had a movement that affected thousands upon hundreds of thousands of people, and the people that didn't hear them directly were influenced by people that they did hear. They started businesses, they had military infrastructure. How do we take the energy and the silent majority's agreement that they don't like homosexuality and they feel that it's filthy and pedophilia is filthy, even though they have pedophiles and homosexuals in their family? How do we take what that we have left as a race? How do we turn that into a movement, an aggressive militant movement? How do we do it?
And you said I have about 5 minutes, right?
No, you take as long as you want on that one.
Okay. The first thing I'm going to say is that for me, I define movement differently. I don't define movement differently in terms of vision and us trying to get us to a certain point, a point of independence, empowerment, sovereignty, self-identification, identification with the ancestors. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about in terms of size. If we've learned nothing else, and there should be two kinds of movements. One should be like the one that you're describing, large scale. But I think that needs to be like the tip of an iceberg. That voice needs to be like a tip of an iceberg. And within that iceberg, all of those little crystals are groups of individuals, small groups of individuals who are organizing themselves around that to protect their children, to educate their children, to educate themselves, to do what they need to do to build those businesses. And I know I'm moving away from I'm not moving away from the homo thing. To build their businesses, to build their schools, to build their political organization amongst themselves so that they are strong. So, number one, they provide a viable model as well as a viable place for people who want to be African to be and to safely be and to be in a sacred African space. These individuals in these small groups, they have to know who they're about, and they have to be strong enough and powerful enough, and they're listening to that iceberg, that public leadership that is there, whether it's heard by everybody or not. They've got their ear on that, and I really think I'm not going off on a tangent right now. I really think that it's already there. I think that the movement is already there. I think that the problem is that there aren't enough people who know about it. And that to me is that should be part of the main thrust of the warrior's work, to identify, to locate those individuals who are willing to form these groups and these cells or whatever you want to call them, that are organized to provide spaces, sacred, safe spaces for Africans to be themselves. So they can continue to have, we can continue to treat each other like we're supposed to within these spaces. We can continue to be no Euros, no Negroes, no homos within these spaces. So we can continue to raise our children with respect. So we can continue to hold our heads up high within these circles where we're practicing this nation building, nation running, and nation management, as John Henrik Clarke would say. Those are critical, I think, to any movement. We have to understand Europeans are about the business of destroying anything that's going to counter them. And they look for, they have created in us the need to only move when we see large-scale things going on. Mm-hmm. And I think the large-scale things are very, very, very important. But what we have to do is we have to realize how they work. Whenever something large was created, they did everything in their power to destroy it. They can't destroy things where you've got multiple heads. They can't deal with that because they don't have that kind of manpower. They don't have that kind of intelligence. They don't have, and with intelligence I mean information. Of course, they don't have other kind of intelligence, but they don't have the intelligence to be able to know what to be able to follow something that is so fluid. They are unable to. They've never been able to win a war, to invade a people and successfully defeat them without traitors. So we're talking about these cells, and we're talking about these small communities, these villages, if you will. We're talking about people who understand, who are clear. In order for you to become part of that, that means that people know you. If they don't know you, then it's going to take a while of proof or what have you in order for them to begin to think about letting you in. Because we know them. We know Europeans. We know all the tactics that they have used to destroy us. So we have to, in understanding those, create a movement that is top and bottom heavy, so that you have individuals who are working in small groups who nobody knows about but them. But they know about the head. They know about the movement. They know about the main part of it, the more public part of it, if you will.
So let me stop you a minute, because I got it because you're totally reshaping my paradigm. So give me an example of who in our movement would be as big as we would need somebody to be. In other words, I was thinking in a traditional, this big movement, blah, blah, blah. But what I'm hearing you saying is that's not necessarily the ideal structure for what we need to do. So
that's not the whole of it.
Right. So for the person or the group that would be, if we, for lack of a better term, the biggest in terms of popularity and known, give me an example of a person in our history that would represent the bigger aspect as opposed to the small cell groups. How big? We not need somebody as big as a Garvey? Is it more like a Carlos Cooks, or is it, give me an example.
Yes, you need somebody like Garvey, but we have to realize Garvey started small. He started like you with War on the Horizon. Okay? He didn't, he wasn't there, and instantly he was this big international figure. He started small, and he spoke to people. Of course, the time was a little bit different, but he cultivated his organization. He cultivated his following in a particular way because of his dream. So when you talk about the potential for leaders, even though I think that there are also other people, I don't see any reason why you could fulfill that role. In terms of in terms of the support base that you have already, because you can say you have a cabinet that's already in place. You have people already in place to do this. It's a matter of them putting forth the energy to move you in a particular direction, to make people more aware of you and what you're saying and what you're doing. So I don't see Khalid was a man. Malcolm was a man. These were men who, John Henrik Clarke was a man. Doc Ben was a man. These are individuals who were committed to this and dedicated their lives to it, and they collected over time because of their earnestness, because they wanted this so badly, because they didn't lie to people, because they saw the problem, they saw the threat, and they explained it in such a way that people could understand it, that their gathering increased. The difference now, I would argue, is that gathering is going to take longer because of the forces that are working against the possibility of this. But I see no reason why we have to find some, and I'm not saying that you're not, but I don't see any reason why we need to find some super ordinary, extra, super articulate individual to do this. We just need someone who can explain. And you can explain. So I don't see any reason why it needs to go, further than that. In terms of what we need, in terms of what we need to have organized, in terms of what needs to be the tip of the iceberg, we need to have someone there who is not afraid to be a martyr. We need to have someone there who is not compromising. We need to have someone there who is of immaculate character. That doesn't mean that before they became African, if you will, that they didn't do this or they didn't do that, but at the point of them realizing that they were African, then their character becomes immaculate. We need to have someone there who has the energy and the time to do this and is able to locate, identify individuals who can do this work with them and who are willing to do this work with them. I don't think we need anybody, if you will, special for that. We just need someone who is determined and who is farsighted and who knows how to organize people.
So let me ask you this, in listening to what you're saying, you are saying that the movement addresses homosexuality, but it's more not a verbal movement against homosexuality. It's more of an organizing communities that protect their communities from homosexuality.
Absolutely. And the reason, the logic behind this for me increasingly is just based upon a model of disease. And even though I consider homosexuality to be more than disease, we can still use a model of disease where when any people who have sense, when they see a disease, when they see that threat coming, the first thing that they do is to protect those who are not infected. They don't go out and the first thing they do is attack the disease. Even though you may have one or two people who attempt to do that, they do this sort of separate. The first thing that you do is that you protect those who have not been infected and those who do not want to be infected from the disease. After you have them safe where the disease cannot touch them, then you go and handle the disease. Then you go and take out the disease. But the first thing that you have to do is to make sure that those are not infected, given that the disease is so contagious, it's highly, highly, highly contagious. If it wasn't highly contagious, then you could just sort of keep them secure and go ahead about the business. But given that this disease is highly contagious and homosexuality is one aspect of the European assault against us, even though I consider it to be essentially the most damaging because it turns us more into them than any other aspect of the disease. The first thing in that protecting us from the disease, that's the work of those villages, of those communities, of those cells, if you will. It's the work of the leadership. It's the work of true leadership to make people, keep people aware, keep people abreast of the nature of the interaction of a collection of variables that strengthen this disease or move this disease. It's the leadership's responsibility to make people aware of traitors in the midst. It's the leadership's responsibility to set the standard of what it means to be African. It's the leadership's responsibility to bring onto the front line, as time will allow, what have you, those individuals who are fighting in the trenches, whose work needs to be recognized or whose ideas need to be heard, not so that they can become spokespeople for the leadership, but because they may be able to articulate a particular thing in a particular way. That's the role of the leadership. The leadership's role isn't really to create the protection. The leadership's role is to state we need to protect the children. We need to make sure that there are certain rules that are established, that we have rule books in terms of how to protect our children from this, or for those who. Which
means we need resources to teach people how to fight this.
We need resources, but we need to have the kind of resources that, in many cases, come from the heart and not from the pocket. That's another one of the roles of leaders at the uppermost level and within the village, to identify those resources that can, correct what's going on, or can lead to the keeping of that disease away. But we can't. Of course, we need resources, but
when I was saying resources, I wasn't talking about like money. I was talking about like, if you're saying that people need to know how to do it, then they need a book that tells them how to protect their child from sexual abuse. They need a DVD, a video that says, okay, this is what's coming. This is what you've got to do. This is how you protect your family and these ideas. You have to teach them this because they're not going to be able to not get that. So this is what you tell them.
And it has to be said in such a way that it gives them guidance, but allows them flexibility to decide within their own space how to do this based upon their particular conditions and circumstances. But it does need to be there. Everything from how to form families. Of course, to protect your children, how to form families, how to form and extend complementarity into time, how to create self-sustaining farms that reflect us, how to create a physical space that is protected, how to secure your home, how to secure your community.
So is it reasonable to say, and then I want to go to our phone line. I just want to make sure that I'm properly stating this and reflecting what you're saying. Is it safe to say that the war against white sex and homosexuality is not necessarily a direct war against those specific things, but it is more of a complete overhaul of black family reconstruction? And that we're not just fighting that one issue, we're fighting building families that can protect themselves.
Absolutely. And as we do that, as long as they're aware and those other issues, fighting those other issues remain center. I mean, you just talk about complementarity. Okay, you want to get a man together with a woman and create family. But that can't be approached without understanding of being able to sustain yourself, what kind of security you have to have for your children, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So the homosexual thing, that of course needs to be very much and the pedophilic thing really needs to be very much in the center of the agenda, because that is the nature of this, if you will, final assault.
So we can say that people, even if it's because they don't understand the issue, at this point in time, with the assault and the battle that we're dealing with, that a black person who's in leadership who is not addressing homosexuality and pedophilia in the black community is largely irrelevant for our time.
Irrelevant. That's the most important word, irrelevant. And I say irrelevant especially because we don't want to allow them to have any space in our minds. We don't want them to have access to our children. We don't want them anywhere near our thinking. We absolutely do not want them. And if they are not saying this, we have to be political too, of course. If they're not saying what we need to have them say, then they shouldn't have any say.
So for a black politician, is an easy first litmus test. What is their open position on homosexuality?
That's first.
If they don't take a position on that, then we're not even considering supporting a black politician.
Absolutely, because that tells me whether you support Europeans. If you support homosexuality, you support Europeans. I don't care what kind of game you playing.
And if you don't say anything,
if you don't do anything, if your money is so important, now if you can show me how you're taking a chunk out of your salary and supporting an organization that is working against homosexuality, but you're not making that public or making any public statements because that would stop the flow of that money into the community and into those groups to stop that. If you can show me that, okay, well, then maybe we can negotiate a little bit in terms of support. But other than that, and the probability that is so low, it's not funny.
Right.
But if you're not supporting an agenda where you are anti-homosexualization of African people, I'm not saying anti-homosexual because to me that's what Europeans are. To me, it's just straight up anti-European, if you will. And I'm not even getting into this. If you're to say I'm pro-black doesn't mean that I'm anti-white. I'm anti against the people who have been attempting to commit genocide against African people since our first encounter.
That's right.
So that's period. You can call me racist if you want to. I really don't care. If you're trying to kill me, you're enemy. So if you're supporting any agenda that reflects them and does not reflect our ancestors, which homosexuality does not, individualism in terms of anti-complementarity does not reflect our ancestors.
And let me jump in there with this and ask you this question because it's something I saw that we really are going to go to the phone lines after this, brothers and sisters. I promise to come to you. And the phone number is 760-569-7676. That's 760-569-7676. The participation code 948-656-pound. That's 948-656-pound. You're here with the premier scholar of the 21st century, Baba Walimu Baruti. Let me ask you this question. We have people that call themselves Pan-African. Mm-hmm. And on the African continent right now, almost every nation that's being headed by a black person, many of them not even necessarily the greatest of leaders, mm-hmm. but the position of those African nations on homosexuality, they're completely against it. Mm-hmm. And for the first time in many, many decades, we have an issue where even Uncle Tom leaders of African nations have agreed to stand on an issue, yeah. which by definition, if I'm not mistaken, would make it, even if they're not Pan-African, it makes it Pan-African because different African leaders of different African nations have agreed on something that they're willing to stand on it. Am I correct to say that it makes no sense whatsoever that if the African nations have finally found something that they agree on against homosexuality and the homosexual agenda, mm-hmm. that if you're in America and you are not mobilizing to support them in their fight against homosexuality, you cannot, by definition, consider yourself Pan-African.
Absolutely, again. Absolutely. So your Pan-Africanism that you're fighting for is a Pan-Africanism that's European-friendly. Mm. It's a unification of African people along European lines, along European thinking, which, of course, you can still call that Pan-Africanism because that's, pan, all African people. So, but you're trying to unite African people along European lines. And we look at these Pan-African organizations, we have to be very careful in understanding them because a lot of them, their politics is Marxist. A lot of their politics is European leftist. So it's not about the business of elevating African people. It provides a platform for people who otherwise would not have a place to publicly speak to make themselves known, pretend like they're pushing an agenda. When if Europeans gave them a space right now for them to hold a political office in corporate, what have you, or among their leftist organizations, then they drop it in a second. But because they're not allowed to, and many of these organizations also, at least two of the largest ones that I know of, they have places for Europeans within their organizations. So when we're talking about Pan-African, we're talking about that kind of Pan-Africanism. We're talking about a Pan-Africanism that is more about class than about race. That's more about class than it's about African people and sovereignty. And that to me is another litmus test in terms of politicians. Do you support and are you working for the idea of African sovereignty? And if you're not, then that means that you're working on an agenda of sub-integrationism. And that right there continues our destruction because you can't swim in the sea of insanity and not get wet. And the longer you swim in it, the wetter you're going to get to the point where you drown.
With that, let us go to our phone lines because we got a lot of people online.
Okay.
All right. Detroit. What happened with my Detroiter? Up, she dropped the line as soon as I picked her up. Let me see if she picks right back up, because I know she's going to call right back. Let me see if she calls right back. All right, we're going to go to our next call, and I'll come back to her if she picks up. 4938, you're live on Warner Horizon with Baba Mwamalimu Baruti. 4938, going once, going twice. All right. 5469, you're live on Warner Horizon.
How's everybody doing? I'm just listening.
All right. Well, thank you for listening now, brother.
Hotel, yes.
All right. 3556, you live on War on the Horizon. 3556, going once, going twice. All right. 2569, you live on War on the Horizon.
BB Faudier family.
BB Faudier.
BB Faudier, my brother.
I'm glad I was able to get in today. This is Alex Coogee Chocolate here out of Tampa. And my wife and I, we were talking. All right, how about yourself, sir? How about yourself?
I'm doing good. I think this is the first time I've heard your voice.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. This is my second time calling in.
Okay,
and,
great.
You know, we've kind of made this a staple in our home. And my wife and I, and, you know, we were talking about the whole Jason Collins thing today. And, you know, we said, you know, it's become extremely evident that the whole white sex of feminization is becoming synonymous with genocide. Because like you said, it's an attack on the family. Because you get some no-name player like Jason Collins to come out and say he's, you know, a sissy or homo, whatever. And then what happens is, not saying LeBron James is gay, but then you get a caliber player like LeBron James and come out and say he's homo. He's a homosexual. Mm-hmm. So what happens is the little boy says, you know what, I want to be like him. I mean, just like Dr. Bobby Wright said about Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, when he got with the white girl and said the white girl, who was 22 years old, she taught him more than anybody he ever met in his family, including his parents and his grandparents. Well, it's the same thing. So now that they're setting up for some big player, and probably more than likely they want it to happen in football because it's supposed to be that super aggressive macho sport. And they're going to have all of our young boys looking at that saying, you know what, I want to be just like him in every way, shape, form, and fashion. And at that point, we have nothing but death. We have nothing but death.
And it'll probably be Ray Lewis.
Absolutely. Absolutely. They set the models. Even though it's not about us, there's a video, and I can't remember if it was Prime Time or 2020, but the name of the video is The Merchants of Cool, and it came out maybe, I don't know, 15 years ago, 10, 15 years ago. But it helped the young folks here understand that what's cool, what's fashionable, blah, 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 that's being manipulated by European media. So we have to get them to understand that these are actors. We see somebody, and that's the hardest thing to do because they're put on such high pedestals. We have to get the children to understand, those who are willing to listen, because all the children aren't willing to listen, especially children who are spoiled so bad they think they know everything already. And I'm not going to sit here and try to be nice to them and pat them on the head and be so gentle, blah, blah, blah. No, we have children who have been spoiled so badly that they think they know everything already, and you cannot talk to them.
That's right.
And so you have so many of these children who look up to these individuals, and because they're in a position of stardom, they also assume that this is a position of intelligence. They assume that these individuals also learn it. And they don't know jack in many cases. There are some, of course, who do have some sense, who do have some intelligence, who do have some knowledge. But for the most part, that's not the case. And if you're able to, and to me especially, if you're able to be manipulated by Europeans to speak and act against your people, then you can't have a sense of who you are. You can't have an historical understanding of this reality and our reality. But they know that. Of course, they put those out there. And when you remove parental control in terms of parents who might be willing to explain or taking the time to explain to their children who we are and what this war is about, when you take away that parental control, that parental authority, then the children are raised by these basketball players. They're raised by the football players. They're raised by the comedians, the actors on television. That's who become their parents. Those who become their role models, those become the individuals who teach them what should be their truths and their sense of morality and ethics and all the rest of that. So the media, of course, knows that. The media, of course, is Yurugu. And their interest is in destroying our children, of turning our sons into their daughters. So every one of these individuals has come out. And yes, I agree, it's going to become very popular now. And that's the eye of a social scientist who is a warrior, who can see what's coming based upon what's happened in the past. And before it was the Negroes, then it became the interracialist. You got a white girlfriend, you got a white wife. Okay, now if I want to become a man, then I need one of those. Now, if I want to become a man, I got to be a homo. We had a young man who came here, and you look into children's eyes, and he was telling me 100% truth. He was very afraid, and he was a small frame guy, almost absent of muscles. And I asked him what he wanted to be when he grew up, because he was messing up so badly. So, what do you want to be, when you grow up? What do you want to do? He said, well, from my understanding, I have two choices. I can either become a thug or a fag.
What?
And that summarizes it for so many in terms of the routes to success. I can be a thug or I can be a fag. Those are his words.
He said that?
He said that. And I can see that in the eyes of so many of our sons.
How old was he?
He was 14, 15. He wasn't, no baby. He was no baby.
He said, I can, God.
We're really a thug or I can be a fag. One of those two. And, of course, he was opting to be a thug.
We're failing our children, man. We're failing.
Yes. That's why we need those small communities. You need that leadership, but that leadership can't be hands-on in every one of our homes and every one of our communities and every one of our villages. You need to have small collectives of individuals who are clear and who know how to establish boundaries.
And let me ask this real quick because we got a lot of calls. But so does that mean, because sometimes, like even what we do, we go and we lecture places and we try to ignite people, but sometimes I feel guilty because we're not, quote unquote, on the ground building here. But does it mean that there's got to be room for some people who can be mobile?
Yes, absolutely. You have to have people who are articulate to say what we need to have said. It feels good to listen to you talk. That tells me that I know that not that I need to have your or anybody else's validation, but it feels good. Okay, it gives me the motivation sometimes to do the things that I need to do. When I listen to you, I listen to John Ray Clark, I listen to all these other folks out here, and it gives me not that I would stop, but it helps quite a bit. And especially for people who are alone, who are really isolated because of their job or because they can't get out of wherever they're at. We need those voices. The problem that I see is that you have so many people who, because of the way that we've been raised in this society, which turns African people into such needy holes that we're looking for anything to fill those holes up.
Dang.
And the need to be seen, to be heard, even when you're saying nothing, is so important that too many folks desiring to be heard or seen, they're neglecting the real work. But you have to have some people who are articulate. We have to have some voices. And you have to have people there who are saying it, because there are going to be some people who haven't heard it before and will stumble upon it and say, I'm not crazy. Yeah, look.
And let me just add, so, and those people who are doing that cannot be, and I don't mean this in a negative way, but they can't be bogged down with being on the ground all the time, because if they are, then they can't go out there and go and visit people, right?
No, they cannot be bogged down. However, they have to be the kind of model that reflects the African center.
Okay.
So there should be a complement in there. There should be children in there. They should have a home life like Malcolm. Okay, so he was out there, but he had family. He had children. He had a home life going on. He respected that. He built that. So it's not like some folks in the West, this individualized thing where you just go and it's you and what have you. There's no one there but you. and you with your great individual selves. If we're going to reflect the ideal of being African, and at the center of being African is family and children and complementarity, then that needs to be a part of it. It just cannot be, that individual just cannot be physically there as much as someone who is not out there speaking.
Gotcha.
And of course, the families that are around this individual need to be of a greater support base for that individual's family because of the role that he or she has to play.
Understood. My brother, did the brother answer your question?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Well, we thank you for calling, and you keep that school going, and we're going to support you in any way we can, brother. We mean that.
Absolutely.
We appreciate it. We appreciate it. Bibi Fodier.
Bibi Fodier.
Bibi Fodier. We see you in June when we get down to Florida, Fort Lauderdale. All right. 6714. You live with Baba Mwalimu Baruti on Warner Horizon. 6714.
Just listening.
All right. Thank you for tuning in, brother.
All right, no problem.
All right. Brother said he just relaxed, laying back and listening to the wisdom, brother. We got a call from an anonymous number. You live on Warner Horizon. Anonymous number, going once, going twice. All right. You got people's antennas up, my brother.
I'm assuming that they're doing the work.
Yes, sir. 8480. You live with the premier scholar of the 21st century on Warner Horizon, Mwalimu Baruti.
Peace to the brothers. This is Brooklyn, New York.
Yes, sir. How you doing, Hotep?
All right. Yourself, peace. Hotep. Man, I tell you, one thing I have to say, brother Baruti, that you maintain an amazing calm through all the storm. And I just hope and pray I can be as calm and focused as you are. I've observed you over the years. We brought you to Brooklyn some years ago.
Yes.
And we interviewed you, on a radio show. And I'm just amazed that you have this laser focus and calm in this tremendous storm that is just engulfing us. They mentioned this basketball player today. But I remember Dennis Rodman a few years ago when he was going through his cross-dressing phase. And he commented that on the onset of his doing that, a number of basketball players who are homosexuals approached him thanking him for taking that stance. And I think, one thing we have to realize that if we are, as you understand, we are under assault, and we have been under assault since we've been here and been ravaged and destroyed, it would be a matter of time before a person were to reveal themselves as this one did. And I think if I can look at any type of redeeming quality of this announcement, it just makes us much more aware of the damage that has been done. But do we actually believe that in this society we have homosexuals in media and entertainment, that somehow the NBA or NFL was immune? If anything, this is a confirmation and wake-up call to how serious these things are. And forget the WNBA. Forget that. That is a lesbian factory. WNBA. We see these things, and it just is mind-boggling. But I wanted to ask Brother Baruti a question. You mentioned the young brother you spoke to, look at his alternatives, be a thug or a fag. Now, in light of all this talk of bullying, as they've made into an institution, a political platform, do you think perhaps that the very I'm speaking back, forget this manufactured, this caricature, what they call bullying today, but do you think that at its onset, at its very internal fiber, when you think back of bullies that you knew growing up, of course, you know how to fight, and then you kick the bullies behind. You think that somehow that in bullying, in the term of bullying, there is the aspect of homosexuality, and this bully was beginning the process of feeling himself out, who he can dominate and eventually debase. Is that a possibility that the very concept of the bully was a homo thug?
Oh, absolutely. They have returned full term, Baba. They have returned full term, and they have, well, they never left, but they brought us with them this time. I don't think that those two things, bullying and homosexual domination, are separable in European culture, the European mind. It's, you have moved us in a particular direction along so many avenues for so long that it is culminated in this. It's come to this end, which is logical because this is the way they've always been. We go back to the caves, and I firmly believe that this was the way the order was established within the caves. So this, to me, has been with them since their beginning.
Well, like jail, almost like prison.
Absolutely. So what we have now simply is it may not manifest openly as a homosexual domination, but the mentality is there. The mentality is there. So even if the bully doesn't catch you in the bathroom and sodomize you, the homosexual mentality is there. What is happening now, and what we're going to see with this bullying, and I'd be surprised if some folks haven't seen it already and just aren't reporting it. What we're going to see with this bullying is that is the final act of the bully. We're seeing that in some college stuff. I remember seeing a story. It was a high school. It wasn't college. It was a high school football thing where these one of the two of the players were bullying this guy, and they were sodomizing him, and he was on the team. It was either football or hockey. I can't remember which one it was, but some white boys.
Yes.
So we're what we're having is this coming together, this dovetailing of all these different things. The homosexual thing, the bullying thing, the gang thing, all the rest of this is coming together. So the end result is going to be the domination of others is based upon your ability to sodomize them. In terms of males, that was back in Greek society. The person who was the stronger of the males, the person who was in charge, had the right to sodomize the individual who was the lesser man, if you will. So I don't see. I agree. I don't think that there is a distinction between bullying and homosexuality. I think that they're intricately intertwined, inextricably intertwined.
Yeah, and it took me.
I'm sorry, brother. We got some other calls here. I definitely want to.
Can I say one more thing, please? I got to say this. I was at a school the other day, and I happened to be going to use the restroom. I was in an office. And I saw, I guess it must have been an athletic, I guess a pendant or something, stuffed pendant. I'm looking at this pendant. I couldn't believe my eyes. There was Ben Franklin sitting in a chair, okay? And coming towards, I get on a line with about 4 or 5 naked white men. I got to send you a copy of that, Jeannie, because, I mean, it was whoa.
I know what you're talking about. I have that, yep.
Oh, you've seen it before, really? You've seen that before?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Talking about, it's true. It's real. That's real.
They're there. We're the only ones who are being surprised.
Well, we're gonna let you go, brother, and he's gonna make his comment, and then we're gonna move on to the other. But we thank you for calling in, brother.
Absolutely.
Welcome.
Okay. Yes, absolutely. We're the only ones being surprised, and I'm not saying that in a negative way. It's surprise in terms of being unexpected. I don't think the Europeans could really surprise us. It's just that things are being thrown in our face that we didn't expect this soon. We didn't expect to see it this soon. We didn't expect to see it in the hands of young folks or in people who are supposed to be in positions of authority. These things are not supposed to be visible. It shouldn't have moved this far, this fast. And that's often because we don't realize that that's the nature of this society. It's the nature of this culture. It's just been waiting for us to catch up.
All right. Well, let's go to our phone lines. 7169, you live on Warner Horizon.
Habibi Fahodier, Baba Baruti, and Brother Genie, just listening.
Habibi Fahodier.
All right. My brother's up in Philly. Thank you for listening, brother.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
All right, Baba. 6523, you live on Warner Horizon.
Mike, that's you.
Habibi Fahodier.
Habibi Fahodier.
That's all.
Okay, Habibi Fahodier.
All right.
I appreciate hearing that.
Yeah, look, they tuning in. You got a lot of people that's listening and catching this wisdom. We got my sister. I know she got something to say.
Habibi Fahodier, Brother Genie and Baba Baruti.
Habibi Fahodier.
I am listening and I am enjoying the wisdom that Baba Baruti is partaking or putting before us. And I just don't know where our young population is going. And I can't even refrain from the facial expressions that come upon my face to try to figure out who's who anymore. It's almost like a norm, and in the job is being supported, on all levels of government. It's just spreading like it is a disease. It's just spreading like a disease out of control.
Mm-hmm. It is.
And if I can just say one thing on what the sister's saying, just to really highlight her point. When she says it's being supported by the government, today the White House came out and made a statement in support of Jason Collins. Now, why, if it's not, we already know it's an agenda, but if it was not an agenda to homosexualize black people, why is it that the White House is endorsing a black male, essentially saying he's got visions of phalluses, and that he wants to have sexual intercourse with other males? Why is the White House coming out and saying we're in support of him and pushing forward if it's not an agenda? It must be an agenda. And we see how high it's coming from, because it's coming from the White House.
Absolutely. If they wouldn't, why are they in it? This is an individual player on a sports, one member on one sports team in one sport. But they're taking the time to come out and make a statement about this, which speaks, he said, volumes of an agenda, which obviously has been in place for centuries, but it's clear now that they think that they have won, and they are simply looking for greater evidence to convince those who may have some questions that it's over. And I'm not about to accept that.
Absolutely. Well, Sister Lisa, you got anything else for us?
No, I'm going to continue listening and enjoying the comments.
All right.
Appreciate you, Sister Habibi Fahodier.
Habibi Fahodier.
That's my sister. All right. We have an anonymous caller. You're calling live on Warner Horizon.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Habibi Fahodier, brothers.
Habibi Fahodier.
I greatly appreciate this profoundly deep conversation. In my day-to-day work, I rarely get to hear black men who are thinking deeply about the problems, the critical nature that we are facing, the war that is upon us. And I just am so moved by this conversation. I'm not enjoying this because I'm not enjoying war. And I'm seeing trauma around me everywhere I look. I work daily with people who are classified, who are pedophiles, rapists, and they're my brothers. But at the same time that I'm aware that they are doing this in our community, I still go into that environment hoping and praying and affirming and calling on the ancestors that somehow something I say might stop one of them. Now, these are elders. Correction, I'm sorry. I said a bad word. They are old people, old black males who've done a lot of dirty things, who've had a lot of dirty things done to them. They have now passed it on to others. But I go in there, even sometimes I don't want to, I go in hoping and praying that I will do something, say something that will maybe change one of their minds, move them from being just old to elder. I don't know if it's working, but I keep trying. So I want to thank you for today's conversation because it helps to affirm that I am on the right path. I ain't crazy. This stuff, I'm editing my words, this stuff is really happening and war is taking place. And we have to, our people must stop dancing and singing and laying with these psychopathic, sociopathic SOBs if we are to be here. And we are supposed to be here. It is our natural right to be on this planet. So I guess I just needed to get that out. Thank you. I'm going to go back to doing my laundry and listening, but thank you, Madasi, for today's conversation.
Oh, I appreciate her so much.
Yes.
She's part of that group of that large number, not a small number, that large number of sisters and daughters and mothers and grandmothers and great-grandmothers who are sick and tired of this insanity invading and spoiling our community, and they want men. They want African men to go to war. They're not interested in the conversation anymore, even though we know that things have to be said. But they're not interested in that. They want this corrected. We listen to it's like when you're looking into the eyes of a child. There are things that you can see that are beyond the words of that child. When I'm listening to the voice of this sister, I hear the pain. I hear her saying, "I want this stopped now. I don't want to see any more of this. I don't want to have to deal with this anymore. I want it corrected now. I want brothers to do the work that they're supposed to do and to stop making excuses for not doing it. I want them to stop this now." And we have to take them seriously. We know that in our tradition, that when women said it was time to go to war, you knew it was deadly serious. Men would go to war over pretty much anything or want to fight over pretty much anything, But when the sisters said, when the mothers said, when the daughters and the grandmothers said, it's time to go to war, then you knew it was serious. And I hear in the voices and in the words of sisters saying, we need to correct this now, or we need to die trying. Period. We need to blood oath, mentally, physically, spiritually, what have you. We need to get to work and not worry about our own personal well-being or whether we're going to have a roof or food or what have you. We need to think about the answer that we're going to give to our ancestors when we make our transition and they ask us, why didn't you do what you were supposed to do based upon what you knew? We need to get to work.
I'm a little bit overwhelmed, but let me go ahead and say that. Yeah, that's, man.
It's serious.
6217, you're live on Warner Horizon. 6217.
Hello,
yes,
Brother Gene.
Yes, sir, my brother.
How you doing? My name is Jermaine Lightfoot. Brother Rudy, how you doing? Good evening. It's my first time calling. I've probably been listening for about 2 weeks now. Kind of excited because this is what a lot of me and a lot of the guys down here in Florida, I'm in Tallahassee right now, but a lot of us are feeling exactly what you're talking about. It's utterly ridiculous. We watch everything that you see on TV. It's all gayed out. We're just tired of it. Something needs to be done. We need to do something, and we ready to do whatever we need to do to get this done. It's just it needs to stop. When I have to sit here and go through the mall and explain to my 6-year-old daughter why this big 265-pound punk wearing tight pants, pink boots, and eyeliner and all this type of stuff, that's not right. That's all she sees is being inundated in everything that they watch on TV, all the music that they see. I sat down and watched the Cleveland show last night, just for the heck of it. Why would they have a black man in a cartoon that is so emasculated and so gay, it's ridiculous. And I also teach, and I'm an educator. And I see this all the time with my students in class. It's sad, brother. It's sad. We have to do something now. We have to do something now.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It's a terrible thing when I see the black boys. Are there any more real black young men out here anymore? That's what I'm saying. The saddest thing that I see is all these boys walking around fruitier than a 10-pound bag of sugar. It makes no sense. It makes no sense. I don't understand where this gay thing is coming in at. I don't even play like that. And the biggest blow today that has me all shook up today was they have been alluding to this all for probably the past 2 months about there was going to be a gay athlete to come out and stand up for everybody gay, and it had to be a damn black man. I drop the mic. Nothing else to say. I'm just gonna listen on, brother. Just to let you know, you have some brothers down here in Central Florida, North Florida. It's a whole bunch of us to hear what you're saying. We sit up at the different spots up at the store. It'd be about 20 of us outside just hanging, listening to live 365 War on the Horizon. Replay, no matter. It doesn't make a difference. We're hearing everything that you need to say. And the funny thing about it is the young brothers, too. They starting to hear, too. But the thing is, we don't have enough of this being played. It's to the point now where you have opened my eyes for the past 2 weeks listening to you, watching your videos on YouTube and everything like this. I can't even watch TV anymore. I can't even enjoy it because everything that you said has come true, and I see it. And everything from the commercials to the football games to the shows to even cartoons, you can see it all. It's just ridiculous. It's like they're forcing this fag issue down our throat, and we don't have any say so. We can't even say stop, slow up, no, nothing. This is here, take it, and that's that. And that's all I have to say, brother.
I want you to stay there for 1 second. I'm not putting you on the spot with this, but if you get an opportunity, you talk to some of the brothers, and y'all would like us to come down there,
we need it. We need it. That's most definitely. I can do that tomorrow, Brother Genie. When I call my boys tonight, because I'm telling you right now, I know they probably listening to the store. I mean, they're listening up at the store, and they probably hear me on there right now tripping. Because I told them I was going to call. I was going to be the first one out of the group to call. And I was shocked because I just got out of the shower and I heard you say 6217. That's why I had to hurry up and turn my phone on so I could talk. Well, yeah, they would love for you to come to the Central Florida area. Tampa, especially Tampa. That's where we're at. That's where it's at.
I tell you what you do, one, we're going to be in Florida in June.
Okay.
We're going to be in, how far are you from, we're going to be in Fort Lauderdale.
How far is what? From Fort Lauderdale? Fort Lauderdale, we're probably in Tampa. We're probably about maybe 3 hours, 2.5, 3 hours.
Well, I tell you, we're going to be there then, but I tell you what, if you guys, because we'll just come right to you. If you can work it out, we'll make it work, whatever we got to do. We'll come down there. You bring some brothers out. We'll bring them out. We'll do this thing, do the lecture, and talk to brothers and help get that thing motivated down there because anywhere that our people want to do something, we want to be there where y'all at, brother.
Because I'm going to tell you something. When we watched that effeminization of the black male, parts 1 through 4, oh, Lord. It was. I couldn't even sleep. And you know, and my father, just to let you know, my father raised a strong black male. My father raised a strong black male. He was in the bus boycotts back in the '60s. Went to FAMU, graduated with Stokely Carmichael, all that type of stuff. See, my great uncle Hosea Williams, they used to run was the enforcer for Martin Luther King and all of that type of stuff. See, I've been there. I know what's going on, and it's like my blood is boiling. It's time to do something. I can't tolerate it anymore. I'm an educator, and one more thing. It was one thing you talked about how they're trying to take the strong black men out of education. That's the reason why I went into teaching, because my father was a teacher. All right, I went into teaching, and now it seems like if you come in there with a strong, positive attitude, trying to empower your children that look like you, they get rid of you.
That's true.
They get rid of you. I don't care. I've been at 3 different schools in the past 5 years and have stellar evaluations when they come through. I've even been evaluated by the Department of Education. I've even been the teacher that assigned to teach common lesson plans and all that type of stuff. And then I end up getting well, I'm sorry, we're not going to be able to renew your contract at the end of the year because I speak my mind and I tell these children what they need to hear. And they can't handle it. And after hearing you, it was like a 100-pound weight taken off my back after hearing you and all the things that you talk about, us and all the boys. And even with the women, when you go on another thing, we broke down women today off of everything that you learned about us with the black woman. Yes. I heard Brother Body Shots mention something about that it was, he thinks that it might be biological. I think he might be right. It's something biological. It's something that our women, I don't know what it is. Now, if you're a little weak, brother, it ain't going to stand up. And then, yeah, your woman going to run all over you. You have a nice marriage. But if you're a brother that has principle and stands up for what he believes, for some reason the women just like they wig out. I don't know what the problem is. It's like you can sit there and you can go to the store and come back and walk in the house and your wife would just click just like that. Is there something in the TV? Is there something in lotion at Bath and Body Works? Is it the mouthwash? What the heck is it? But it's a combination of all of that, and I guess it feeds off of your masculinity. They want to try to emasculate you. It's everything you're saying is 100% correct, brother. Both of y'all, you and Brother Burundi, is 100% correct.
We appreciate you, brother. We at liberationatwaronthehorizon.com. We're going to be looking for that email. We coming. Look, I'm going to just go ahead and put it out in the universe. We coming to Tampa because you got the kind of spirit, you the kind of soldier we want to meet, brother. I want to shake your hand.
Hey, I want to shake yours too because I'm glad that we have some brothers out here fighting a good fight. And like when you hear that Nat Turner and all that, that's my idols. That's who I look up to. When I hear the song, and I need to get that the liberation movement. See, I grew up on PE and all of that kind of stuff. And then when I hear them, brother, when I heard you play that song "Cracker in the Trunk," oh Lord, I got to have it. That's something I ride down the street playing on full blast, sitting at the shop like looking at Whitey. Yeah, you hear it? Now what? So what else, brother? I'm gonna shoot you that email through War on the Horizon. I'm gonna be keeping in contact with you. I know after the boys have heard me, and I'm gonna call them as soon as I get off as the show goes off, and we're gonna talk some more. We're gonna organize this and get this thing happening because you've got a lot of brothers out there that feel exactly what you're saying.
Yes, sir.
Exactly what you're saying.
Well, thank you.
And we ready.
All right, brother. We appreciate this call, and I think I know Brother Baruti gonna say the same thing, brother. This is what warriors love to hear. Other warriors that's ready for war. We just got to come together and make this thing happen, my brother.
Absolutely.
One thing I always noticed is fairness. My father always taught me fairness, being fair, and is just even a 2-year-old can see that it's not fair. My 6-year-old daughter sees that the playing field is not fair. So and when these gays and all this stuff, and they're attacking my child, and I have to constantly explain to my child why they act this way, it's something got to stop. Something's got to stop. We got to do something now because now they're messing with my baby, and that's a problem.
Yes,
that's
sir.
A problem.
All right.
All right, brother. Have a good one.
We'll see you on the battlefield.
On the battlefield.
He made a central point there. And in addition to all other things that are going to take me through this week, one of the things that he said was that more people, the information, your video, what you're saying, needs to get out there. That you can't do alone. So all the individuals who appreciate this, who understand what's going on, who understand what you're saying, they need to push this. They need to get it out. They need to make sure that those individuals, I'm sure that most of them do, make sure that this gets in the hand of would-be, wanna-be, already are warriors, so they'll know. Otherwise, how are you going to define leadership? How are you going to create that leadership, that upper level, unless people know the voice, unless people know the message, know where it's coming from? It's got to get out there.
We got some more calls to go, but I got to really ask you, how good did that call feel, brother?
Oh, it felt exceptionally well. It's like, and of course we don't deal with the rank thing, but it's like a lieutenant standing right there. Let's get to work. What are we waiting for? This is something we should have done. And when you're talking about you having to explain this to your child, okay, then your child needs to see you in full force, or with brothers who are in full force, or somewhere involved in such a way to stop this, because she's going to watch it. She's going to see children are brilliant. We call them brilliant, but we pretend that they're not. She's going to watch this evolve. She's going to watch it develop, and she's going to wonder why that man that she called a father, and I'm not just talking about him, I'm talking about brothers all over the front line.
That's
right.
Going
to wonder why would Dad, how come you haven't done anything about this?
And look, I'm going to go to the phone line, but I do want to say, I just want to give credit where credit is due. if it wasn't for the fact that you were been on this thing and you broke down when you said earlier that people have, because I'll be honest with you, I really want to do more than I do want to speak and motivate and everything like that, but I can't pick what I'm supposed to do. And when I was listening to you earlier saying more people got to hear it, that's what compelled me to say, well, if this brother's saying he feels this way, and I heard you earlier say we got to go to where the people are if they want it, I said, you know what?
Yes.
I gotta say, let's go down there, because ultimately at the end of the day, even though if I had it my way, I'd be cutting every cracker's head off on the planet. That's my job at this very moment.
That's not your job at this moment.
Yeah.
That's not your job at this moment.
We appreciate you, brother. Let me go to this next call. I feel good. I do too. 8257. You live on Warner Horizon with the premier scholar of the 21st century, brother Baba Mwalimu Baruti.
Bibi Fahodier.
Oh, let me just tell you, watch out, brother Baruti. You got a warrior on the line right now, so I just want you to be careful now.
Oh, okay. Who is it? I can't
hear.
Yes,
sir. I'm enjoying the conversation once again. It's a pleasure to hear Baba bring that knowledge to enlighten our people. Just had a couple of questions. I'm like the last brother. You know, I'm always ready to roll, and out of like Tipton, Valdosta, and what I'm trying to do is we homeschool right now, and I need to get in contact with you, Baba Baruti, pertaining to aspects of curriculum and things of that nature. So
email me.
That's go ahead.
Email me.
Okay.
Send me a message on Facebook, and we can do the email thing.
Okay, definitely. In addition to, basically confirming that we are at war, once again, my son, 15-year-old son, actually texted me a message about that homo coming out, and, it's just sickening because every day the devil got a new trick, and our people are falling for it, and we're just integrationless, and we're going to have to stop this stuff and start taking heads, and that's really where I'm at right now. We're going to have to start taking heads and stop talking about it. And, Jeannie, you got your place, and we got our place as well, so all the soldiers out here, this is a rally call right here. Do what you got to do.
And that's all we need to say, because men are men. Do what you got to do.
Yes, sir. All right, brother. We definitely appreciate you. You've been putting them videos out?
Yes, sir. I've been putting them out, brother. But these guys out here scared. They Christianized, and white folks got them shook. But I'm still out here pushing them out there, doing the best that I can, and trying to get our people on board.
All right, brother. Well, keep doing what you're doing, and we'll definitely see you on the battlefield.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
That's all that's important in the day's end, is that you did the best that you could, what you knew.
Yes, sir. All right. 1302, you are live on Warner Horizon.
Bibi Fahodier.
Two things. Is there a language lesson book on the tree language or an app to learn more about the tree language?
Yes, there is, and if you could send me an email, send me a message on Facebook, I'll send you that information.
I'll send you an email.
Yes.
The other one is, in your estimation, as a scholar and you travel the world, and you too, Jeannie, you travel the world as well, which African countries or societies today can be used as a model for us that resist homosexual death styles? I mean, I know Sudan has death penalties, Chad, Hausa land, the Fulani in Chad and Niger. Zimbabwe has public policy. Uganda does their part. But which are the most successful since you go and you see it for yourself, so that we can have some success stories where lands are ruled by people who look like us that show a successful model to resist homosex death style in real time today?
Okay. Well, I guess for me, it's got to be a combination of two things. It can't just be a rejection of the homo death style. And the reason why it can't be that is because if you're embracing everything else that's European, then eventually you're going to be embracing that, because that's part of the package, and you're still dependent on them, and you still rely on them as a source of your education and your attire and what you eat and your aspirations. So even though there are a number of countries, and this is in no way, shape, form, fashion to negate that fact, I'm very proud of that fact, that you're having a whole collection of African nations who are saying no. The measurement needs to be, in addition to that, the degree to which there is a outright rejection of the European interpretation of reality, of the European way of doing things, of European beliefs. Because if homosexuality is the only thing European that you have a problem with, then you're going to be taken down soon, because you can't fight it. It's sort of like having a disease inside and you're having a problem with the scab. The disease is continuing to grow, and because they're in your midst and because they're in your face, then they have their missionaries in there that look like you and don't look like you. They've got your foreign aid. They've got control of the collection, distribution of your goods and services. They control your language. You're speaking their language. You're even rejecting any possibility of yours. So when you're talking about which nations are the best example, I don't really know of one in its entirety that reflect that. For me, I have to have the idea of an ideal African country, and I shouldn't call it nation, because we are a nation. African people are a nation. I just say country, just like I'll say any European country, because European people are a nation. For me, when I think about that, and I have thought about that, it's to me, I come up with an ideal African nation. That's the model that I have to put in my face. That's the image that I have to have in terms of what I am proud of and what I aspire to and what we should be aspiring to as a sovereign people. And that nation is essentially no Negro, no Homo, no Euro. And the primary component of that, though, based upon what is worked against us for so long and continues to work against us with a life of its own within us, is our love and appreciation of Europeans, our perception of them as humans, because we have misinterpreted or never heard of our ancestors' definition of what it means to be human. According to our ancestors' definition, Europeans don't even qualify on any level in terms of being human. So the idea that they are in any way, shape, form, or fashion, the people who came, invaded, violated, stole, continue to steal the resources, do everything else imaginable, that they have a physical presence, except maybe as traders, and they're met at the gate, and the trade is done there, and then they have to leave. Any of their presence within an African country, to me, negates part of the credibility of that nation relative to homosexuality. I mean, you hear all kinds of people who will be against something, and they'll be loud when they're a gang, if you will. But when they begin to disperse, then it's easy to change their mind. And that's one of the tactics of Europeans anyway. You begin to pick away at the weak ones, or the ones that you have the greatest amount of control over, until the one who is standing at the top may be alone, and then everybody turns against that individual or that country. So for me, it's an ideal. And again, my statement is not to negate what the officials in many African nations are saying relative to homosexuality. We will kill you when you enter. We do not want pedophilia here. Do not bring that nonsense into our country. But it's a contradiction when 2/3 of the rest of what you're about is European. So it's in a lot of these instances, it's going to be a matter of time. It's going to be absolutely a matter of time, and it's really too soon, in my mind, to tell which ones are going to stand and which ones are not, because of the political shenanigans of Europeans.
And if I can jump in here, and it goes exactly to your point, kind of halfway answering the question with the brother saying it, and halfway going directly to what you're saying. The country, if I had to pick a country out of the countries I've been in, where I would say was the strongest against it would be Uganda. But to Baba Baruti's point, on the one hand, Uganda has some of the most outlandish videos and outlandish sexuality stuff that they're allowing to come in on the TV, in the clubs, all kinds of outlandish, sexually degenerate backwards stuff. On the other hand, in addition to being verbally and outwardly anti-homosexual from the government perspective, there are regions of Uganda that you go in where I would estimate 60 to 65 to 70% of the women are walking around with their natural hair and African garments. And if you go to the average person, we just went to a restaurant to get something to eat. We were in an average restaurant. And a brother sitting at the table, just an average brother, as we began to talk, said, now what is this political thing with the U.S. wanting to push the homosexual agenda here on the African continent? I believe it has something to do with them wanting access to the resources. That's the kind of conversation he's having in terms of the political savvy. So there are some regions and they have a Pan-Africanist radio station in Uganda that plays Dr. John Henry Clark. It plays, this is a television station, radio and TV. So even to the point of Uganda very recently trying to pass a law to tell women not to wear miniskirts, to make it illegal to wear miniskirts, because they see any fall in the culture in the direction of degeneracy and Europeanness and Western uncivilization to be something leading them in a downward path. So on the one hand, there is a strong fight against Westernization. On the other hand, there's a strong fight for it. But I can say I felt like if I had to pick out of all the places I went, if I had to pick a place that I wanted to go and lay down a flag and try to fight, Uganda would be a place I would say you could fight there. That's what I would say. Out of the places I've been.
Okay.
That'll work for me.
Yes, sir. My brother?
Yes.
You good?
I'm good.
All right. Well, we appreciate the call.
Appreciate you.
Yep.
See you on the battlefield. All right. 2444, you live with Mwalimu Barudi on War on the Horizon.
Bibi Fahode.
Bibi Fahode.
Hey, I'm a new listener. I just came upon War on the Horizon probably about a week ago, and I'm still going through the archives. And I've really been made a believer on this homo agenda worldwide. And what really made me a believer was this incident with Jason Collins of the Washington Wizards coming out as the first openly gay black player. And what really was the hitting point, which made me a believer, was I was looking online, and it said that the White House or Barack Obama, came out and supported it. That's how I knew that, okay, I need to stick with, what I've been hearing in the wisdom and the radio station. And, I feel like, in boxing, they had what you call a 1-2 combo. And I feel like the black community got hit with a 1-2 combo because even before the Jason Collins thing came out, earlier this morning I saw where they're posting about, Michael Jordan getting married to this white model. I feel like, me, I'm just 26 years old. I have no kids. And it's like the message that's coming to me is like, okay, either you're going to be gay or you're going to date interracially. What you going to do, boy? Like that. And it's like, man, it's he on the picture, he's looking like, the heavens have just descended down upon him and all things are better now because he with this white woman. And he had 2,000 guests at his wedding. And I don't even understand about him because he came from a good, strong family, 2-parent household, hardworking black father, and mother. And he started off decent, and now he's doing what he's doing. And so all thing I'm saying, I'm a believer. That's my comment. I'll let you go ahead and comment on that. I have a question after you respond to what I just said.
Oh, wow. Well, really for me, I guess there's no response. He said it. It's good to hear, and this is the second individual. It's good to hear people who have come into full realization that this is wrong, and when you get to that point, then everything gets clearer. It gets more and more clear what they're doing and what they have done. The gray area disappears, and the intent is there. He immediately made the connection between the support of this state of a player on a sports team. Like this should be some kind of big issue. So by permission, now it's blown all out of whatever proportion it could be, kept in. So it's good to hear warriors who believe, who know, who have awakened.
Yes, sir. You said you had a statement after he answered your question.
Right. Yeah. My question now was I'm down south. I'm in Georgia, so I already saw I'm in the gay capital. And
I'm right here with you.
Right. Yeah. So that was my question. I had heard online. I emailed Warren Horizon, and they told me that Elder Bruder that you were in Georgia. So my next question is what do you have any lectures that I can attend to where I can start connecting with some people that here or.
Oh wow. Well, you need to that's not a hard question to answer. And in fact, this summer, I will be doing a lecture where I'm going over the 3 books: The Sex Imperative, Homosexuality and the Feminization of African Males, and Urugu's Eunuchs. And that's going to be here at Akabit Institute starting on June the 4th.
You say, what's the name of it?
We have evening courses for adults. This is on Wednesday nights here, and it'll be from June the 4th through July the 9th. And for this 6-week period, on those Wednesday nights, I'm going to go over the book The Sex Imperative, the book Homosexuality and the Feminization of African Males, and the book Urugu's Eunuchs. So we're gonna cover. The name of the course is Sexual Insanity. Okay. But you can email me. Tell folks all the time, just email me and connect and get on our mailing list. I would also suggest that you try to attend Abakasim Sunsoon that's coming up this Saturday. Set your calendar for sometime around the middle of November when I do the Kebuka lecture. There are a lot of things that's going on. So shoot me an email and I can get you in line with what we're doing here.
And if I can say one more thing, I think I saw the brother's email. Please, my brother, you did say that you were new to nationalism, and this is for everybody out there that's listening. I really mean this. The only reason I haven't talked about this thing yet and haven't gone on because I haven't finished it, but let me just tell you, everybody out there who really wants to know not the philosophy, but what am I supposed to be doing as a black person that wants to be nationalistic or Pan-African and doing for self and being responsible, you must buy the book Message to the Warriors, because it is really, I call it, the handbook for nationalism. It's really the Black Nationalist Handbook, and it's so practical and gives you such practical things that you can do. Every black man, woman, and child alive should have that in their home to know what we're supposed to be doing, and we should do it in groups. Everybody read it and talk about it and discuss it and see how well you're measuring up and move towards that standard. So I just wanted to say that, my brother.
In addition, and how I could forget, I don't know, this Friday evening at 7 o'clock, we will be on War on the Horizon, the Bibi Fahodie show with Nwalamu and Yabarudi, and we'll be talking about reparations this Friday night. So here, this Friday night, 7:30.
Okay, my last question. Elder Irritated Genie, do you have any plans on making a southward, trip?
Yes, sir. Where are you located?
I'm in ATL.
Okay, yeah. Matter of fact, I think that's something me and Bob are going to work on to try to make something happen this summer, right?
Absolutely. As soon as we get past this fundraiser on June the 1st, we're going to work on that because we need you to come through here.
Oh yeah.
How do I say badly?
I agree. I'll be down to meet you both. That's all for me though.
Great.
Yes, sir. Fantastic.
Bibi Fahodie.
Bibi Fahodie.
Yes, sir. All right. 5204. You live on War on the Horizon.
Peace and blessings.
Hotep.
It's good to be on this show. I'm hearing a lot of positive feedback. My name is Hakeem Fulmore, soon to be graduate of Lincoln University. I wanted to know, Baba, what was your experience like at the HBCU college, and do you think we should support them more with more professors like yourself and Dr. Jahi Issa?
Well, that's a program in and of itself because HBCUs have since about 1990 have gone about the business of removing, as systematically removing all revolutionary scholars. I watched it the entire time I was at Morehouse, and that doesn't mean that there aren't any left, but the vast majority of them have been removed. Has been going on since then. My experience at HBCU with the students was wonderful. I wouldn't trade the students for the world. The problem wasn't with the students. The problems were with the school, the administrators, and a significant number of the faculty who were there. What we have to remember briefly, number one, the HBCUs are primarily, not partially, but primarily funded with European funds. They're not funded by us. They're not. If we funded them, then the agenda, if most of us weren't Negroes or lost souls, the agenda would be very different. So the HBCUs primarily are about the business of producing black folks who will continue to fill the spots where they will receive the larger crumbs in the system of oppression. That's their main job. That's their main responsibility. And I used to say with students who were strong, who were warriors, who came out of Morehouse as I taught there, that they became men despite Morehouse, not as a function of being Morehouse students. They became men despite it. I don't know one HBCU that is not supporting and promoting in one way or the other the homosexual agenda. I don't know one that has an issue with interracialism or our sub-integration into European society. What I think that we need to do, and of course things take time, but I would really like to see, not that I'm in charge, but I would really like to see education, the process of education returned to our communities. I would like for us to create a system of schooling, a system of education, places in every community where any individual can get educated, apprenticeships where we learn the skills that we need to maintain our own communities. Jerry Clark talked about when we headed to school and started getting our education, we forgot about the trades. So Europeans, of course, they kept in the trades because they knew where their money was. So all the people that did the plumbing and the wiring and the roofing and all the rest of our community were Europeans. Right. And those are the things that you need to survive versus things that you need just to be seen. So we need to bring education back home. Now, I'm not in love enough with HBCUs to put them or give them the opportunity, if you will, because I have been involved in a number of HBCUs, and I have dealt with administrators, and I know Negroes. If I had not been there, I really would not have got a good understanding what Negroes were about. I really, really would not. So I'm not concerned about what they think per se. If they want to assist in this process, if they're brave enough to reach the point of bravery where they will assist in this process in such a way that they don't dictate the agenda, that's fine. But I really think that it, for the most part, needs to be taken out of their hands because they are not producing the kind of warriors that we need. I believe it was Kwame Ture who said that if the schools of higher education in this country were teaching cannot teach our children what they need, because if they were teaching their children what they need, they would be teaching them to burn this country down.
Right.
So I'm a firm believer, and I've heard from some elders who I have an enormous amount of respect for that we need to build African University. And not in the same way like a campus situation and you got to pay these people tax and all the rest of this. It needs to be brought back into our community. We need to have this educational system in our community, and that does not mean that you can't go and get this skill from them there and this skill from them there. But the job should, the vision should be, I'm going to get that skill so I can bring it back to my community, which is what a lot of people say, but they don't do. I can bring this skill back to my community and infuse it into the minds of a number of our children, who in turn will infuse it, and then we'll develop a greater independence in terms of our ability to control ourselves. So to me, I have mixed emotions, and I didn't talk about that, my relationship with HBCUs on a personal level, because Negroes relative to me really showed themselves out when it came to me, because I was not compromising in the definition of manhood, and I was not compromising in the definition of in the statement of whether an effeminized or homosexualized male could become a warrior. So the Negroes are the reason why technically I'm not there anymore, even though I'm glad that they did. I know the ancestors had something to do with that.
Right. It'd be good to have you on a visit soon.
Okay.
We can work with something like that at Lincoln University. You and Brother Irritated Gene. I met you a couple of years back at a Nat Turner Day event in Philadelphia a while back.
Okay.
So,
well, I would like to see, and I'm not trying to be funny, I would like to see the university or HBCU that would allow me to come on and speak.
I'm going to work on it. I'm working on it.
Okay. Sounds good.
Peace.
Right. BB 48. One thing about them brothers from Philly, man, them some strong, but them brothers and sisters,
absolutely,
they strong.
They're definitely. Well, you know, Pennsylvania it's like people don't realize the depth of the overt, the visible racism, white supremacy aspirations in Philadelphia. In Pennsylvania has, proportionately in terms of the black male population, it has more black males in prison than any other state in this union.
Mm.
So
that's what they call the deep north. That's the deep north.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, the deep north. That's at the heart of it is Philadelphia. Pennsylvania.
Right. All right, let's go here. And I did not know that. Thank you for that, Jewel. 1404, you live on Warner Horizon.
BB Fahodier.
The BB Fahodier.
This brother born up here in New Haven. We up here listening to the show. It's sounding wonderful. I got a comment about something that one of the brothers was saying something about, is there something in our biology that's going on, or is it something genetic that we can look to? And I was doing a study on soy, and they say that, soy is a type of food that'll do damage to your endocrine gland. And, the endocrine gland is the one that, it helps with your hormones and stuff like that. And I see that since, like, the early 60s, it's just been an influx of almost all the foods that you eat are full of soy. A lot of the women don't breastfeed no more, and they use a lot of those infant milk products. And it seems like, and I don't know if there's a direct correlation, but I do know that soy does damage, the endocrine gland, and that it does have something to do with, with how a person reacts in life as to whether or not they're male or female leaning, their tendency. And the other thing is, we up here, we pumping that DVD, that feminization of the black man. I just sent it to, a couple of the elders in the neighborhood, a couple of elder women, and like some of the people were expressing, the elder ladies in the neighborhood, they want to fight. They want to go to war with what's going on, because they really, they see it as they see it real detrimental, even though, they're getting older and they're not really as boisterous. But once I brought it to them that, listen, I don't like this. And they were happy to hear, a black man who didn't like what was going on and was willing to say something about it. So I'm just glad that you brothers are on the air. I'm glad I hear all these other brothers out here ready to soldier. I already talked to Irritated Jenny once before. We're looking for a venue now. I'm just, as the brother said, a lot of people scared to even say something because they just so fearful of how people going to look at them. But I ain't got time for what people going to look at. You know what I mean? We're already looking at the BS. So right now I'm trying to clean up my language so I won't be using the N-word so much. That's one thing that I did want to give props out to the Irritated Genie, because I never really, I'm Pan-African. I love my people, and I really didn't have a problem with using the N-word. not as much, but they're just listening to the brother and listening to program after program for the last 2 or 3 weeks. Y'all helping me wean off of the N-word. I'm saying N-word. That's good. You know, that's something that I haven't been doing.
Yes, sir.
You know, but I just like to thank y'all just for being powerful and for giving some of us out here just ear, you know, and somebody who we can listen to, you know, and that feel the same as we do. Because listen, we mad and we ready to war up here in New Haven. That's what it is.
Yes, sir.
All right, a BB for Hodier.
A BB for Hodier.
BB for Hodier.
We gotta listen to our mamas.
That's right.
We gotta listen to our mamas. It's like, you know, strong men. A woman doesn't take that strength away from you, because you listen to her, because you think about what she says. I'm assuming that if you are with a woman or you're having a conversation with a woman, whether she's your woman or she's our woman just like we're their men, or she's an elder whose voice we respect. If we're listening to them, then that must mean that there is some serious respect there, and we need to, if you will, do what they say, because they have nothing but our people, our children, and our best interests at heart. You know, number one, if you're with her, then this ought to be somebody who's wise anyway. So if they're telling us, again, and repeated a zillion times, if they're telling us that it's time that we need to handle this, then we need to handle it. I mean, it's like, for all time, what men will do for women because we love them, because this is our power. And suddenly we can't listen to them. Suddenly they don't know what they're talking about, or suddenly they're talking out of their emotional sense instead of their common or intelligence sense. They know exactly what's going on. They feel the pain possibly better and more than we do. So if they're telling us that we need to go and do something about this, whatever that may be, then we need to go and do something about this, because it's gone too far and it's picking up speed. We need to do something about it at whatever level, however we're dealing with it, what have you. I'm not going to tell people specifics, because people need to find their own way to whatever the solution may be. That may be anything from building a school to creating a security force. But brothers need to do what the sisters ask. I don't think that by saying that I'm punking out or I'm trying to get brownie points with sisters or what have you. No, sisters have always been our wisdom. Sisters have always been our back. Sisters have always been there for us, and we have to listen to them because they're wise.
Man, I feel so good tonight, man. I feel like I'm on cloud 15 and a half. Let me go. 5067 live on Warner Horizon.
BB for Hodier. BB for Hodier.
Oh, hold up. Is this my brother Tinkerman?
Yes, sir, brother. Yes, sir. Checking in.
Well, let me say this before you go any further. Tonight, I want you to go online and see whatever DVD you want. And I want you to send us an email, liberation@Warner Horizon. Matter of fact, it was another brother that was supposed to do that from Florida. Brother, you were supposed to do that last week. You didn't send us an email about what you wanted. I know what the brother didn't want to get it, but I want you to do this, brother. It's not a request. That statement you made and the way you broke it down on that debate, brother, I've never been so proud of a young person that's been on the Warner Horizon and we work with. Brother, you make me so proud. I know your intellectual wisdom and your willingness to stand in the grind. I know you fighting the good fight, brother. You made me so, brother, you made, brother Body Shots was talking to me saying, man, that's a cold dude. Now, you know Brother Body Shot's a cold cat.
Yes, sir.
He don't throw out no accolades. So, brother, you made us extremely exceptionally proud with that, brother. You keep hitting the way you hitting. Come on in here and talk to the Baba.
Yes, sir. I don't really have much to say tonight, brothers. I'm just glad, Baba, I'm just glad to hear you, to get a chance to talk to you, brother, because
I appreciate your words.
Yes, sir. Because I bought your groundbreaking book, Feminization of the Black Male, when I was in high school. I think I was my senior year.
Wow, that's
And that was like I was still doing my homework and stuff, but that book was like my religion right there. That was the Bible to me right there.
All right. Yeah, that's a serious statement because most folks still playing around with comic books.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's a serious statement. I mean, I'm sure there are others, but I don't know of anybody else in high school who's reading Homosexuality and Feminization of African Males. You know, that's a serious. To me, I'm not if you're trying to brag, but it's a difficult book to get through.
Yes, sir, and it was shocking, and it was all the critics trying to put homosexuality in Africa. You didn't waste the time. You went ahead and dismissed those claims. You had evidence. You wasn't just coming from emotion. You had hardcore facts and common sense to back it up with, and that's what a lot of African-centered scholars, they be lacking sometimes. But you and this brother right here, Brother Irritated, y'all come with the facts. And this is another thing. And I'm right now, Gene, even when I told you about the organization I was working with and the fast took it over when I left for a week or whatever.
Right.
Well, I didn't get in tune with some Pharaoh brothers and sisters down here. They brought them. That's the people I was passing out the Umar Johnson flyers for, and hopefully I shared some. I made sure there was no bootlegging going on. I shared some of the information with you, and hopefully we can get either one or even both of you brothers down here to the ship pretty soon.
Yes, sir.
Let us know.
Yes, sir.
No.
But you make sure you go and you send that one, whatever DVD you want off the website, brother. It's yours because you making us proud, brother.
Yes, sir. And you guys are my role model.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate that.
All right. We'll see you on the battlefield, soldier.
BB Fodier.
BB Fodier.
That's a young brother in college going to Mississippi State, I think. No, Jackson State.
Oh, Jackson State? That's Eniya's alma mater.
Yeah. He's following after the queen.
Yes, indeed. Right. I know she'll be happy, proud to hear that.
Yes, sir.
And she be wondering sometimes.
5789, you live on Warner Horizon.
Habibi Fahodi, brothers.
Habibi Fahodi, warrior.
Yes, brother. I'm up here in Connecticut, New Haven, and I'm listening, and everything you're saying is so true. And, I mean, I've been traveling, especially in the Caribbean, and the same thing is happening down there. And it just gets me sick. Sometimes I don't feel like going back to my birthplace down in Trinidad because the thing that's taking place down there, homosexuality, is crazy. And like the brother said earlier on, two callers, it's time to fight. It's time to fight. So, brothers, I'm with you. Keep on doing the good work. And one thing, what book can I get so I can, do some reading up on this madness that is going on in this place and educate my daughter, because I have a young daughter who's 14 years old, and I tell her every day, when she go to school, stay away from some of these girls, because she come home and tell me some of these girls, and they talk about all this madness. So I'm ready to pull her out of school. My wife's there, and she, actually I'm going through a little disagreement with my wife because I want to pull her out. But this is what the madness is going on, up here in these schools here. So what book can I get so I can, bring up more on this and teach my daughter the madness that is going on in this place? Well,
I'm going to say 4 books, and you sort of have to pick on your own. I'm going to, of course, say Irritated Genie's War on the Horizon. That's very important. And that may be so much so for young folks because there's a lot of their attention is focused on the media. And he really tears into their participation is an understatement, but their participation in it and their use of and their control of the images and the ideas that are being put out in this society that promote that, the people who are behind this. Of course, I will also recommend My Homosexuality and the Feminization of African Males for particularly in terms of what's going on with young folks, Urugu's eunuchs. But I tell people, folks are excited about the Homosexuality, Feminization, and African Males book, but if they're able, they need to read the Sex Imperative first, because Homosexuality, Feminization, and African Males developed out of a chapter that was in the Sex Imperative, and it just got too big to be included in that book. But the Sex Imperative gives you a general idea about the sexual insanity in European society, period, of which homosexuality is one manifestation of that.
Okay.
So I'd say pick from those four, or all four of them.
Okay.
Everything works together.
Right. And Irritated Genie, you're doing a good job. And I do have the Irritated Genie tapes, so I have that, and it's powerful. So keep on doing the good work, my brother.
Thank you. You do have the Feminism, Lesbianism, and the Making of a Black Widow, right?
Yes, I do have that, yeah.
Fantastic. Okay. All right. You keep up the great work, my brother.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Peace, my brother. Hold tight.
Hotel. It's a statement when people are concerned about their children.
You
know, that's supposed to be what we do. That's what we're supposed to be about, concerned about our children. That's really what this is all supposed to be about. That's what our ancestors were about, their children. So it does me good, even for folks who don't recognize that they're African, and obviously he does, but folks who don't really recognize that they're African, that their children are their first priority. Their fear is for their children, and that's where it needs to be.
And I can't even sit here and lie and say that it wasn't disturbing, even though I already know it, so I shouldn't act like I'm like you said, we shouldn't act surprised, but to know that it's picking up on the level that it's picking up in the islands is very disappointing, because that was one of the strongest resistance we had at one point to this madness.
And one of the main reasons why is because of tourism.
Yeah.
When you have economies that are based on tourism for the most part, and the primary tourists are Europeans, well, then you can expect them to demand, take what they want to. I remember being in one of the islands and was talking to a brother there, and he said, "No, we don't deal with this homo stuff." I said, "Well, I see a lot of white folks around here, So, and I know what they're doing." He said, "Yeah, I know what they're doing too." I said, "Okay, well, how do you deal with that?" And he said, "In a way, we don't." I said, well, nobody, said anything about it. And he said, "No, if you say anything about the tourism, then you will get beat to death. So if you are dependent on their money, then you're dependent on their insanities."
And what I saw in Jamaica they do too is that they're using I hate to say that, I don't want to be gender specific, but I'm just going to be honest. They're using black women in education to really, really legitimize it through the educational system. Because the men are just highly resistant. But, well, at least verbally, like you said, directly. They're not resistant in terms of keeping them crackers out of there, but they're resistant if you say it. But they're using the women in the education system to give them high positions and promote that stuff through the school system. And it's really devastating.
And that's where they're at everywhere, the school system. It's here. That's where the greatest complaints come from. School system, particularly at the elementary levels. Even I know sisters are responsible there. Wherever that educational system is, wherever our children are at, that's what they're going to do, because they know that you change the generations. You don't worry about the adults. You let them sit there and fuss, and in many cases do nothing. You attack the minds of the children, and once you've done that, that's the end of the discussion, because that's the only truth they're going to ever know.
And if black men were doing our jobs, they wouldn't have access to our women to be trying to use them to promote this stuff.
Absolutely.
All right, let's go to our call. Anonymous call, you live on Warner Horizon.
Peace, how you doing?
Oh, let me hold on 1 second. I'm coming to you last. We only got one more call. I'm going to hold that. I'm going to let that be our last for my sister. Anonymous call, you live on Warner Horizon. Calling from an anonymous number. Going once, going twice. All right, they're just listening. All right. All right, this is going to be our last call. Detroit.
How's everybody doing?
Hotel. Beautiful sister.
Beautiful Unfortunately, I missed a large portion of the program today in the middle, so I'm not sure what all was said. But I do just want to thank Baba Baruti and Brother Genie for all the work that you do. It's definitely needed. I was actually sitting here kind of just glancing through a Yoruba booklet that I just happened to be reading, this online book, and it just so happened that where I just happened to look at, they're talking about transvestites. So it's like it's gotten everywhere. Like this, I'm just in here trying to study some African spirituality, and it just popped out at me here. So it's like everywhere you go, you're being inundated by this, and it's really getting old. So I do just want to thank both of you for all of your hard work. We definitely appreciate it.
Thank you. And appreciations from sisters, especially sisters who are warriors, is appreciated, because they're the ones who would know better than any other of our sisters whether we're doing what we're supposed to be doing or not.
You sure are, and it's definitely refreshing to see. We need more.
Thank you. Madasi. Bibi Fahodie.
Bibi Fahodie.
And let me, in close, we about to close up the show now, Baba, but I got to keep it real. And I know I'm going to take a shot for this, and I'm willing to take it. I know I'm not always right. I make a lot of mistakes, and I definitely fall short of the glory of Amen. So, I'm going to take this. But I really got to ask you this question. I'm just going to be 100% honest.
Mm-hmm.
The fags have got so deep into our movement that when I hear, and this is really crazy, when I first heard the terms African spirituality, it was with Baba Ashra Kwesi, the master teacher. Mm-hmm. So it was revolutionary. Like when you said spirituality, that was like Nat Turner to me. It was like when I heard the word, mm-hmm. I'm thinking, oh, this is a serious warrior. This is a sister who I got to stand up correct. It was like Locks used to be. Mm-hmm. When I hear the word African spirituality now, I ain't trying to be funny, or Yoruba priestess or a Khan. There was a time when I'm thinking Haitian Revolution, Vodun, Nat Turner. Now, I'm not even lying. And I try not to do it because I know we can't just let these bags take everything from us. But soon as somebody says an African spirituality, I say, I don't want to deal with this person. I know they're weird. They're weird, and they probably are some creep and some fag or cracker lover. And I know that that's wrong, but it's not even intentional. It's instinctive. As soon as I hear some spirituality, as soon as I hear the word, I get creeped out. How wrong am I?
Well, I don't think you're wrong at all. We're pretty much in the same place. It's sort of like when I first saw Locks and understood the political significance. I was excited. Every black person I saw who had locks, I assumed that I was going to be dealing with someone who was conscious. Of course, I was surprised in many cases. So I got to a point where when I saw somebody with locks, they had to prove in my mind, they had to prove to me, but they had to prove in my mind that they were conscious before I would accept that they were. Now, when I see locks, I automatically assume that they're not conscious, and then it's got to be proven. So the same thing happened with me with spirituality, with quote-unquote African spirituality, because I have encountered more in Atlanta and where I've traveled who were compromised than who understood that we are at war. So I advise warriors, don't dismiss your spiritual side. Don't dismiss your spiritualism. That is a power beyond measure, and you can pull from it like Nat Turner did. Okay, like so many of our warriors did. You can pull from that. That's very much a part of you. But if you're going to be dealing with a spiritualist, if you're going to be dealing with an African spiritualist, then one of the first things that you should hear coming out of his mouth is some indication that we're at war. Because being a spiritualist doesn't change your personality. It doesn't change your politics necessarily. You have the same politics and go through the same ritual rites, what have you, to become whatever it is that you're going to become, and still love Europeans. Went to a wedding relatively recently where his Babalawo was supposed to be all of this and big time, and he had trained this individual who was getting married and blah, 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 and he comes in with his white wife. So we have to, and the three The three spiritualists who I have some respect for, all of them are clear. So it's like when people come here and they say, well, who do I need to go to for a reading for this or reading for that? And I will tell them, don't go to him, don't go to her, because they don't know we're at war. So we need to, just like we're selecting our leaders, we need to make people, warriors, aware of those individuals who understand and practice and can convey African spirituality. We have to make sure that politically, personally, they understand that we're at war. They understand the concept of enemy. They understand that Europeans are our enemy, eternal enemy. They understand that homosexuality is something that is completely and totally un-African, and we should not be practicing it. If that quote-unquote spiritualist is not in accord with all that, it's the same thing to me. It's like when you ask about whether a revolutionary is in line with all these things, and if they aren't, are they really a revolutionary? So to me, if they're not in line and do not understand that we're at war, that means that they don't understand that they're African. They don't understand, and that by default, they're not a spiritualist. As far as I'm concerned, I would never go to them to seek advice. I would never go to them to try to find out anything about African spirituality or how we're supposed to interpret reality, the cosmos, or what have you. I don't want to hear anything from them, because I know that their answer is going to be tainted with the Eurocentric perspective. So I don't want to hear any of that. So I don't go to them. So even though that is ours, African spirituality is African. We live in a very corrupted world, and because someone is a spiritualist does not mean in any way, shape, form, or fashion that their personality or their politics has changed. We need to be fully aware of that, and to seek out those for guidance who are clear that we are at war. And sadly, they are far and few in between.
All right. Well, Baba, we got a few minutes left. Is there anything that you would like to close this outstanding? I mean, when I say outstanding, this was an outstanding program. It's always outstanding when you come here, but man, this was outstanding.
Well, I wanted to say three quick things. Number one, I was really glad to hear the appreciation of you by members of the community, of the family, because that tells me that what I was telling you was correct in terms of the role that you need to play in this movement. And of course, I'd ask you to give that even more serious thought. Secondly, brothers need to. Willie Hutz said need to work it out. We need to get busy. We need to provide the security that's necessary for our community. We need to stop this onslaught. We need to stop the presence of homosexuality within the centers of the African community. We need to prevent that. I'm not saying we need to negotiate with it. We need to talk to it. We need to coddle it. We need to find ways, just sort of move it out a little bit. But that's friend, that's family. No, it needs to be removed from the center. That has no place there. And anything that comes into the center that is not African is a violation and will contaminate everything African that is there. So it needs to be removed. And it's our responsibility. I don't even want to put that in the hands of the sisters. It's the brothers' responsibility to provide a safe, sacred space so sisters can be the first teachers that they're supposed to be. So we have a job. We need to fulfill that job. Period. No excuses. No nothing. We need to do this. I'm trying to sound like a dictator, but yes, if we're African warriors, if we're claiming to be warriors, then we need to act like warriors. We need to remove the threat. We need to provide the space for our sisters to be who they're supposed to be and our children to enjoy life like they're supposed to. The third thing that I wanted to say was to remind people that Akabent Institute is in the middle of a fundraising drive, which will culminate or end at least officially June the 1st with a fundraising concert here in Atlanta from 4 to 10 in the Cunningham Auditorium on Morris Brown's campus. We are asking people to support us. We don't care if it's $1. We don't care if it's $5,000, but we don't care how small it is or how large it is. And we really want to impress upon people, which I've been trying to do for years, because people think that they have to give a lot in order to support something or be effective. Every penny helps, and we mean every penny. Every penny helps, and we need to keep this institution alive. We've been doing this for 14 years, and we would like to see ourselves doing this for an additional 40 years, but we need the support of the community to continue this process. So that's the purpose of this fundraising job, not because I need a new car or I need a new outfit, but because we need to be better prepared to educate our children and not have to worry or deal with issues that take us away from that education. So, Irritated Genie, I appreciate you inviting me. I have enjoyed myself thoroughly. You know this is going to get into the classroom tomorrow here.
Oh,
So, you know, I appreciate having you on. We love War on the Horizon. Oh, and there was something else that you said earlier when you were as honored to have Enia and I accept doing a program on War on the Horizon. We've had other offers over the years. I've had offers over the years. Wow. This is the first one that we accepted.
Wow.
So it should say a lot about what we think. And there was no discussion. There was no great debate between Enia and I. We just said, okay, what day of the week we're going to do it and from what time to what time. That was the end of the discussion. Like the same discussion we had when we decided that we were going to start this school because Ajawa wasn't going to be going to any of those public or private schools out there.
Mm.
So we do appreciate you, and I appreciate you having me on, and I appreciate being in the presence of a beautiful community.
And let me just say, in closing, could you tell people exactly how they can contribute to you so they can contribute to the fundraiser exactly one more time, how they can send you that money?
Okay, you can, and I'm going to be posting something on my page when I get off. If you go on my Facebook page, you'll see what is your Facebook page? Mwalimu Baruti, or you can go to Baba and Mwalimu Baruti. Either one of those are my Facebook pages.
Could you spell Mwalimu for people?
Sure, absolutely. MWALIMU space BARUTI. That's MWALIMU space BARUTI. And in fact, the email address is the same. Feel free to email me. It's mwalimubaruti, no space, @yahoo.com. And I'm going to put up an announcement to give some details, and there are different levels of giving, and we're giving out gifts, if you will, depending upon what people are able to donate. Also, you can just donate straight funds to PayPal, and the email address for that would be Yabaruti, which is YAABARUTI @yahoo.com. That's if you're going to do the PayPal route. Or you can go to our site, which is www.akabenhouse, AKOBENHOUSE.com. That's www.AKOBENHOUSE.com, and there's a donate button there on the front page. And of course, you feel welcome to donate by or to contribute by purchasing any of the books there or any of the DVDs. Whatever way you can get it to us, we'd appreciate it. But the PayPal seems to be the most popular route at the moment. And of course, we invite everyone to come to the concert on June the 1st. It's $10 for adults. 12 and under are free. And we'll have flyers out and be doing some email blasts on that very, very soon. But we are definitely looking forward to the support of our community, not someone else's community, but we're looking for the support of our community because get to this long discussion, but every donation, every contribution, every piece of support that people give carry strings, no matter how much we want to say that some do or some don't, because the people who give you these funds expect you to behave, think, act, teach, what have you, in a particular way. And we believe that those people who support Akaben Institute expect, demand that we continue to be the African educators that we are. So we definitely are looking for the support of the community and have no intention whatsoever in the next 40 years of disappointing the African community.
All right. Well, with that said, Baba, we appreciate you. We love you. give the Queen our best and the family our best, and we'll definitely see you on the battlefield.
All right, you do the same for me. Abibi Fahodie.
Abibi Fahodie. Well, brothers and sisters, we want to please, I want you to make us proud. This is the first forum that Baba has gone on and told people that he wants some contributions. Make us proud for those brothers and sisters that are listening. Send that money to them. Support them. They've been in the community for decades, fighting for our people and doing the right thing. And we want them to see how much we appreciate them, not with words, but with our financial contributions. So please send your financial contributions to Mama Ya and Baba Baruti to show how much you appreciate that there's still Africans out there, no matter how knuckleheaded and backwards we act, they will still dedicate their lives, their time, their spirits, and their hard work and their genius to educating our people to survive the onslaught of war that we face on planet Earth today. With that said, brothers and sisters, I know sometimes we say some things that are hard, but hey, remember, we didn't come here to be your friend. We came here to save you. We love you, and that's why we bring giants like Baba Mwalimu Baruti to you. We love you, and we'll see you on the battlefield. War on the horizon. You gotta love it.
Yeah, peace to the God. I got a cracker in the trunk of my car. Hope he dumped the body. Caught the cracker slipping, so I hit him with the shotty. Said I caught the cracker slipping, so I hit him with the shotty. Caught him in the lobby, fully stretching like karate. So I left his body, took the shotty, kicking like karate. Need a place to hide, so the police never found me. They never get me alive, but no truly ever find me. But Yasser Bomani, he could do the crack and burn me. He could be white trash, so I'll put their ass behind me. This is for the slave shit. This for Troy Davis. This for every cracker talking BB on the dead shit. If you think you cold, bitch, and I'ma let the gate. If you really got it confused, if you thinking that I'm racist. I'm just a deadly weapon to guard. I bang hard and I'm repping my squad. This a lesson to y'all. This is justice, I'm correcting the wrongs. You're in the mall, get you checked in my heart. If you trusting my smart, killing crackers, I perfected the art. Like Max Turner with the burner, with the cracker apart here. Friends get hugged, enemies get shoved in the 6-foot hole. I shovel my black gloves, shedding white blood, the ultimate black love. Everybody got a back, my brothers are cracked soul. Peace to the gods. I got a cracker in the trunk of my car. Hope he dumped the body. Caught the cracker slipping, so I hit him with the shotty. Said I caught the cracker slipping, so I hit him with the shotty. Caught him in the lobby, fully stressed him like Pilates. So I left his body.